You know what it is. Welcome to the best coast. Yo, it's Bronze Age nerd with that collecting elite. Big B McFly, steady bringing the vintage heat. Pull up a seat, we diving in the stacks. Silver to the bronze, got the knowledge on tap. From Kirby's Kings to the mutants, wow. We breaking it down in that laid-back style. So grab your snacks, let the panels unfold. This is comic book chilling with the stories we told. Comic book vibes, we flipping them pages. Legends and lore from all the ages. Golden to the modern, we talk that news with Big B McFly and the nerd cut loose. Yo, you tune into that Bronze Age flow, where comics live and legends grow. Big B McFly in the cut, let's fly. Best coast, baby, comics are what saved me. Big, yeah. Best coast, baby, comics are what saved me.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I'm joined, as always, by
Hugh Jackman.
I loved you in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, thank you so much. I really gave it my all.
Yeah,
I really kind of let myself show since, though. No, Big B McFly, the comic guy. Thanks for being here, guys.
Till you're 90, right?
Till I'm 90.
Boy, it's going to have been an action-packed weekend if you're a nerd. There's been a lot going on. Free Comic Book Day was Saturday. We're going to be talking about that here in a minute. We actually have a special guest who's a current retailer that we're going to talk to about their experience with Free Comic Book Day and kind of touch base with the retail side about the present and the future of Free Comic Book Day. And it was also Star Wars Day if you're a Star Wars nerd. You know, I'm repping the Rebel Squadron here for now. I guess it's Revenge of the 5th now, but it was May 4th. So it's been a really busy day. And then, hey, happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody out there as well. Yeah, yeah, it's quite the weekend. But and then I guess, you know, for a lot of people also Thunderbolts weekend too. Real fast before we say hello to the chat and bring our guest on, I do want to just take a second to mention that we're streaming on a few different channels. If you'd be so kind, there are links in the description below for Big B McFly, the Comic Book Guys channel, for my channel, as well as over on the EXP, which is a network of comic book streaming shows, basically claim sales, original art shows, comic book news like industry insiders, all kinds of fun stuff you can go check out over there. Comic book reviews over on the EXP. You can catch them live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, all those fun places. So go find them everywhere. And then don't forget to sub up Big B. Definitely, we want to have all you guys checking out all the awesome content on all of our channels. We are going to say hello to the chat here, and then we're going to bring our guest on. Let's see, we got Rich coming in first, repping the East Coast. To all the old people who can't stay up to watch until 2 a.m., I can feel you on that one. I'll catch the replay. Byrne, which that's by the way, should bury the lead there. That's our main topic for tonight. We're going to recap the career of John Byrne. We got an awesome slideshow prepared with lots of art to check out of his and stuff to talk about. But he said Byrne was a huge influence on him and every other artist he knew growing up in the 70s and 80s. For those that don't know, Rich is a constant contributor to our community art, which we will show at the end of the show. We have tons of community artwork from you guys this week, including from Rich, and we can't wait to show it off. We got Richard holding it down in the chat. GT Key Comic. We got all the regulars that we'd love to see in here, and love to see those new faces too. So if you're watching on the rewind or if you're watching for the first time, drop that comment into the chat. Comic Collector Coach, thanks for being here. Good evening to you. And we are joined by Comic Tropes. Welcome, Chris. We always appreciate having you on the show. Speaking of having people on the show, like I mentioned earlier, we do have a guest. So if you guys can all welcome, we've got Scott Tuckey here. Scott is a good friend of mine. Hey, how's it going, Scott?
Hello. Hey, everybody.
So Scott, for people that don't know, can you tell everybody what your background is or what you currently are doing as far as comic books are concerned?
Well, we currently have a shop in Oakville, Connecticut. It's called Legends of Superheroes, and we do have our heavily on Facebook. We do live Facebook auctions every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we have our business page, Gamma Base Comics, on Facebook, and also our Gamma Base Fans page where, just everybody can talk nerdy stuff. And also, we do pre-sales, stuff like that. People that, don't go to stores and they just rather do stuff online.
like me.
More or less.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of funny. Scott sort of hit me up about something, kind of in some of the stuff I've covered for other stories, some of the scam type stuff that's out there. And we just got to talking, and I found out about what he does. And I had, I wasn't really on Facebook much for the last few years. And I started following him and his group, picking up a lot of good books over there. So I highly recommend checking him out for that. But in a minute here, we're going to talk to Scott about his experience as Retailer's Free Comic Book Day. But before we do that, we're going to do our first segment, which is where we kind of get caught up with everybody. And now we got a guest. We're going to get caught up with him as well. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've been reading, comic book purchases or pickups we've made, cool movies or, comic shows or whatever we've been watching. So with that in mind, we have a guest. I think we should only be fair and let our guest go first. Scott, did you get up to any cool stuff this weekend as far as, seeing any movies or going anywhere?
Well, I saw the Thunderbolts. It was amazing.
Nice.
And I'm sorry if I'm looking down. I'm ready to grab what I picked up. I went to Connecticut Horror Fest this past weekend, and it had basically the big thing is they had some Friday the 13th Part 2 guests there where I was able to get my poster signed. Chris, you've seen how many autographs are on that poster.
How many total are on there? I didn't count them all.
58,
like
58,
okay.
58, now 59.
It's nuts.
And I brought it over to JSA, and they almost had a heart attack because I wanted to find out how much it would cost to get authenticated. And I went to the show mainly to get one autograph for the Friday poster, and I picked up this. I had the book already, but I don't know if you guys can see it close enough. It's actually signed by Art the Clown and some other cast members from the Terrifier trilogy so far.
Nice.
So
if you want to hold that one up one more time, we got you on the big screen.
Sure. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
That's
okay,
really
cool.
cool.
I think people can see that a little bit better.
Yeah.
You're a huge Terrifier fan, right?
Yeah, I am.
Are you kind of a big autograph hound too? Do you like to get them in person or?
Oh yeah, I prefer to get the autos in person. If it's just something that can't happen, then I will buy it online or get it through a source. But
right.
yeah, I really wanted to meet the cast, and I finally got to, which was nice. And yeah, I've been collecting horror stuff probably since I was 8 years old. So it's been a while.
I have a friend who he really enjoys meeting the people, but he's also said he's had a few times where it's the never meet your heroes kind of thing, where he's disappointed he'll never have that same feeling about that person.
Oh yeah, I had that with Lou Ferrigno. I understand. And me being the title of my company, you can understand why I'm a little disappointed with that.
Right.
Might be a bit of a Hulk fan.
A little bit.
No, that sounds really. You were sharing that poster with me, and I saw one of your photos on social media with you meeting one of the cast members and stuff. And I'm not really in that world. I'm dipping my toes in, but I can just tell how exciting it was. And like, I know those are some big things going on in horror right now with the Terrifier movies and stuff. So
oh yeah. There's some people in the chat are asking about SIGs. I have the poster behind me. I'm not going to open it, but I'll give them a little tease of what it is.
Okay, yeah, sure, please do.
If you're okay with it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
It's worth it. It's pretty cool.
I don't know. I'm going to do the best so you guys can see some of it. I'll go as slow as I can.
That's so cool.
That's really
one side. Here's another side.
And that's an original one sheet, right?
Preparation for where you want it to be signed for each show?
No. I'm like, sign it wherever you want, wherever you can fit it.
Gotcha.
So essentially, it basically has every single Jason, including Betsy Palmer, who played Jason's mother. And you name probably the bigger names. I got all the bigger names by now. So it's pretty cool.
Who was the hardest one to get?
Kelly Hugh.
Okay.
Yeah, she's probably one of the more famous, like has gone on to do more stuff, I would think, probably.
Yeah, Lady Deathstrike.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool.
Yep.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, you've seen a lot of love for it in the chat there. And then, we're obviously going to stay spoiler free on Thunderbolts because it just came out this weekend, although Marvel's already spoiling it.
Yeah, they're good about that.
I saw that. But I actually, both of you saw it, so don't know if you maybe want to both give your spoiler-free thoughts on it, but thumbs up. Should everybody go watch it, or what do you think? Wow.
Yeah, I
Couple
enjoyed
thumbs
it.
up.
It
It was different than the typical Marvel movie.
right. General consensus among all my friends is like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 7.5 or an 8.
Sweet.
So.
Very cool.
Yeah, I would say probably like an 8 for me, but that's just me. I'm very easy. I'm not hypercritical unless it's a Hulk movie.
Yeah, no, it was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess I hear you on one side, but apparently it worked because people are liking it, and now I think the secret's out. Secret. So we heard a little bit from Scott. Bigby, what about you? What have you been up to? What have you been absorbing out there in nerd world?
Well, let's see. Thursday, which by the way was the only day I got to work last week.
Wow. That's rough.
I'm like, I got off work and ran to the theater and watched Thunderbolts. That was pretty awesome.
At least you had Friday off, I guess, to sleep in. The silver lining,
No, not really.
Okay. Fair enough.
Really hurt the finances. But
bet. I'm sorry.
So watching a few movies, The Accountant 2, Death of a Unicorn. Watched that the other night. That was pretty good. Was
Accountant 2 good or just Death of a Unicorn?
Yeah, Accountant 2 was pretty good. It was cool.
Okay.
I just imagined John Byrne running around with the Punisher logo the whole time. That was all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mobland, been keeping up with that. That's pretty awesome. Tom Hardy is amazing in that. And I finished all of the available Big Bang Theory that I have. So I'm through season 8 now, and got to hang out with Jay on Hydra Asylum the other night.
Right on.
I just jumped in the chat and he was like, "Hey, get in here." So, we hung out for a little bit. That was fun. And then Trav from Comics Limited, I just was hanging out. I didn't think I was going to get any, I'm not a big, super huge Star Wars fan, but, he was doing a May the 4th sale on Whatnot. And so I jumped in to support him and just be there and, talk about the books as he's showing them. And at some point, I was like, well, that's dumb not to buy that for that price. Pretty soon,
what happens.
Before I knew it, I was the top buyer.
Right on. Any pickups or anything like that you want to show off, or any?
Yeah. So I got my free comic book day stuff. Are we saving that for later?
I think it's. I mean, if you kind of want to quickly go through, I think that's fine now.
I'll just go real quick.
Yeah.
So, Jay approves. This book is the Jay approved book. Got the Amazing Spider-Man Ultimate Universe book. The Marvel Voices book with the new Ghost Rider in it. The giant size X-Men Fantastic Four.
That's the one I want to read, by the way.
Yeah,
the giant size.
The back cover. Yeah, the back cover.
And that I heard from a little birdie who's in the show right now. I heard a little bit about the Energon special.
Oh yeah,
there's something cool in it.
And then Post Malone's Big Rig. That's pretty cool. I got to flip through that. The artwork's pretty amazing in that.
I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah, that is really cool. It's like the Dark Ages, and the knights are fighting against a demonic invasion, and they're praying for divine help. And this Big Rig comes barreling through this portal with every weapon you can think of to help them fight the demons.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, and then today, I don't know if you guys have watched. I have a couple short videos where I bought some collections, and one of the collections I bought had a lot of like gizmos and gadgets and stuff in it. And so I went to GameStop and to a pawn shop after that, and got rid of all of that stuff that was not wanted by my family, and netted a good amount of money. Well, $46. So I was not nothing to sneeze at. And so then when I was at the pawn shop, they go, I said something about being into comics or buying the stuff from a guy where I get comics from. And they go, we have some comics. And they go, we have a slab in the display case. And I went over, and it was God, what issue of X-Men is it? It's Magneto, where he's making Wolverine almost like punch himself in the face with the claws.
Yeah.
They had a 9.4, but it had been in that case so long with the UV lights that it was destroyed.
Oh.
And so
sunburn.
like, that's sad. And he goes, well, we have a bunch of like milk crates in the back that hardly ever get gone through. And I'm like, oh, milk crates, you say? So I went over and I started digging, and about 20 minutes in, I was like, my back's hurting. I'm getting tired. I'm like, everything is just destroyed. And then all of a sudden I started hitting some good stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep looking. And I kind of turned over my shoulder and I said, how much are the comic books? And he goes, 2 for $1. That's like,
Score.
okay. So this is kind of a recent book. It's a variant cover G.I. Joe 306.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
So
Is that one of those Hama sketch cover ones, like the variants for those?
That's an Andy Kubert
okay.
black and white sketch, yeah. And then this book seems to find me almost everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Adam Hughes' Female Dr. Fate book.
That's a good one.
Nice.
And then, I mean, why not? Fantastic 4.5 with the Wizard coupon
for 50 cents. Why not?
Yeah, 50 cents. Speaking of John Byrne, also
nice.
flight number 1.
Oh yeah,
looks like it's in good shape too.
Yeah, it's not bad. And then we're getting progressively better. The Pro, a later
Pro.
Oh, nice.
That's a score. Literally.
Sorry, that's like one of my favorite stories.
Oh, yeah. So good. If you haven't read it and you're over
18.
16, yeah. And then these were the ones. This is where my eyes started to light up. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, this one is a super low print run. It's a B cover. The first ongoing Halloween. This one is like minty. So that was in there.
Is that Halloween Night Dance? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is Halloween Night Dance. Number 2, the B cover.
Yep, that one's very, very rare.
Hanging out in the background. That's cool. Creepy.
And then this one is not in as nice a shape. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 pretty. I mean, it needs a press for sure. Pretty bad color breaking spine ticks, but this one is much more expensive than that one. This Halloween Night Dance 3, the B cover, and I think I looked it up in a higher grade. It's like $85.
Yep.
Wow.
And then to top it all off, how about this for 50 cents? The first printing of God Loves Man Kills.
Oh, score, dude.
That's awesome.
That's right up my alley.
Right? I was like, is this in the comics? He goes, yeah, it's a comic. I'm like, all right. I'm looking, I'm like, that's first printing. I mean, it's not minty by any stretch of the imagination, but
it was 50 cents.
Yeah, even in a 2.0, it's like a $20-$25 book. So
nice. That's some good stuff, cool, man.
Yeah, so it was a decent little pickup for $4.
Wow, nice, dude. Yeah. Hey, so Comic Trip has a question for us.
Yeah,
he said, "Is there any truth to the rumors that Sydney Sweeney is attached to an adaptation of The Pro?"
The resemblance is uncanny.
I mean, the only thing I can say is that when you talk about Sydney Sweeney,
their own show.
And that's what we do when somebody mentions Sydney Sweeney for the first time. I think Comic Drops just wanted to watch that clip again.
I think that's what it was.
You know what? I'm not going to complain about it. Did you have anything else you wanted to show off from your pickups this week, baby?
Oh, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to show a few things. But yeah, it was. It's the first time I've actually really gone hunting in a while, so it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a really good time if you haven't done it in a while. I almost my free comic book day experience. I went to a shop that's primarily a gaming shop. So they did have some free comic book day stuff. They have some back issues. It's a shop I've been to before. Shout out to Diversified Games up in Chehalis, Washington. But they're not he does have new comic books, but he's not, he definitely will admit he's more of a magic shop and like a, tabletop gaming kind of shop these days. It's where most of his energy is going. But I was able to get my daughter some free comic book day comics. She got like one or two. Her favorite one by far, shout out to Nick Barucci from Dynamite Comics, who might be lurking in the background. He hangs out every once in a while. The Powerpuff Girls Thundercats comic. She's read it like 6 times. She absolutely loves it. So that was awesome. And then we went to GameStop, and it was kind of just unrelated, but I thought it was kind of fun. They actually gave us, I think we bought. I got a figure. She got like a little surprise egg toy kind of thing. And then they say, hey, you want some free comic book day stuff? We didn't say anything about comic books. I was wearing a Rogue t-shirt or whatever. And I said, yeah, that's why we came up to the town anyway. Sure, absolutely. And they gave us a couple of the McFarlane Page Punchers comics. So you got the reprint comics on the back, and they have the little figures in the front. We got Batman, we got Lex Luthor. So you got Batman Rebirth. Forever Evil, and I thought that was really neat of them to do that. And then I got to shout out Scott, who's sent in a ton of free comic book day stuff, because I don't have like a full-fledged LCS close to me. He was awesome. He sent me a bunch of stuff for my daughter, some stuff for me, so I appreciate that. I also just want to show off. I love this Mark Spears cover. His stuff's kind of hit or miss for me, but I do like this one a lot. Also from Dynamite. But my big pickup this week, just unboxed it earlier. I haven't even taken it off the backing board. I just wanted to make sure it was in good shape. Shout out to Shortboxed, who's been doing original art comic auctions, original comic art auctions, I should say. So I picked up a Ken Lashley piece, and if you're going to get a Ken Lashley piece, my recommendation is you get a Black Panther.
Yes.
Wow.
So
there you go.
Got that for, I imagine, less than his commissions usually go for. I think that original art thing kind of took people by surprise. I don't think there was many people watching it compared to some of their other stuff.
Is he going to be at SummerCon again?
I don't know yet. I haven't seen him on the guest list. My guess is probably not. Yeah, but maybe. I hope we'll end again.
He owes me a special.
Exactly. It's one of those things where, the people that I've interviewed and talked to from the channel, like Ken Lashley at SummerCon last year, I now have like an affinity for them, and like I want to get like some of their art. Like I'd love to get some Frank Cho art. I'd love to. I may have some Mark Bagley stuff to talk about soon. Let's just kind of tease that one out there. Comic Trope says, "Remember when you had too?" Yeah, Ken was absolutely a class act and just a gentleman and a nice guy. So shout out to him for that. And then other than that, let's see. I watched Empire Strikes Back primarily with my daughter, but my family for Star Wars yesterday. And then what else? I don't think a whole lot of other crazy stuff has been going on, but we're at that point in the show where we're going to start talking about what our guest is here for. And that has to do with Free Comic Book Day, which we kind of been talking about a little bit, obviously. So we mentioned at the beginning of the show that Scott is a retailer, not just in a physical, location, but also online. Runs some awesome stuff over at the Gamma Base Facebook group, which I did put a link to in the chat. If you guys want to go follow Gamma Base on Facebook, you should do it. But he also runs a physical comic book location, and I'm super curious to hear how Free Comic Book Day was for you this year in comparison to years past. And what does it mean for you as a retailer? Can you kind of tell us about your story on Free Comic Book Day, Scott?
Yeah, for Free Comic Book Day, I felt that it was very successful. Basically, what I noticed this year is not a lot of like big keys sold, like off the wall. I could have probably counted how many, but everybody was going for the back issues. And our shop basically has the biggest back issue assortment. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but like in the state of Connecticut, I think we have 170,000 comics on the floor, if I'm not mistaken. And but it was like a majority of the people that were buying, they were buying like new issues, or they were picking up some Comic Book Day stuff, going right to the boxes. That's what I noticed this year.
Nice. Okay.
And we did see a lot of new faces. compared to last year, so that was a bonus. But it was basically, for like volume and stuff, it felt like the same, but it was just a different variety of how they were purchasing.
Okay. So
Do you think that was because of the way the economy is? Were they buying smaller
Yes.
books, maybe
Absolutely.
lower price back issues? Okay.
Yeah, because we ran the same type of sale as we did last year. It's like a structured sale based on the color stickers. And yeah, I think the economy is definitely a big thing.
But it's good that people are still coming out and buying books, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
At least they're buying
entertainment.
something. They're not
Yeah.
just going in, getting the free comics and leaving.
Right. That's always appreciated as a shop owner.
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. In fact, I made a point to grab my daughter. She got a Looney Tunes comic that we bought off the wall, and she picked up a little golden book, like 101 Dalmatians or something like that. And I was
cool.
like, and I was telling her, like, we came and we got free comic books, and we're going to support, a comic shop, and by buying some stuff. And
so
trying to
Chris,
explain
am I a bad person for not buying from the place that I went to? Because
I don't think it doesn't make you a bad person, because my guess is you probably
No, I mean, there was some people that did that. I'd say out of all the people, it was maybe between like 2 and 6%, which is minimal. I would say, I don't know, probably like maybe 10 people did that.
Yeah. So I have to, for Bigby's comment, we are definitely going to do something. It's long overdue.
It is long overdue. Maybe we should do that for like topic of the next show. We can just do that story.
I think we need to do that as like a recorded video. I still think that we need to sit down and tell that whole story. So for those, this is a little teaser for what's going to happen. For those that don't know, I did a video that kind of blew up when I first started my channel about a comic book shop that wouldn't let me use my phone in the comic book shop. And that was kind of the first time.
I remember that.
Yeah. And it was kind of the first, I think a few channels shared it out because they thought it was interesting, and it kind of got my channel some attention. And it was the first time that I was like really critical on my channel about anything. And oddly enough, that's a bit like how Bigby and I met, is kind of commiserating over that
was on
shared
another channel
shop.
talking about an experience at the local store because I had been jonesing to go dig through some back issue bins, and I was talking about what happened, and Bron's is like, "Where do you live?"
It sounded like I could see it. And turns out it was the same shop. So that's a story we're gonna have to tell at a different time. No, I don't blame you for not buying from that shop. That's because he didn't
say a word to me. He just turned over his shoulder and glared at me the whole time I was in there.
Wow.
I'm actually amazed I think his sister was in there. Yeah, and she was the one. She's like, "Welcome, it's Free Comic Day. Come and pick, 5 or 6 of your favorites." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And yeah, he was just glaring at me the entire time.
If she ran the shop, it'd probably be better. Anyways, that's a story for another time. Not to derail the Free Comic Book Day conversation. But yeah, so I am curious. The crowd was buying some different stuff. Did you notice? Is there any like differing trends in like? Are they going for more established characters? Are they going for more indies? Has that changed over the years? Like, is it?
I was actually working the Free Comic Book Day area, so I didn't get a chance to actually see what people were buying. But as I was seeing what they were holding, it was all, like the major titles like Hulk, X-Men, Walking Dead. Well, Walking Dead's now a defunct book, but people still buy it.
Yeah.
Ultimate titles, Transformers, G.I. Joe, the stuff that's pretty popular right now. Harley, Batman.
Right.
But not like any like obscure stuff. Like, we have a lot of obscure, having 170,000 back issues, you're going to have some obscure stuff in there. Someone actually had a copy of Warriors of Plasm, and that made me laugh.
But it's funny that some of that stuff is totally new to
them
younger readers now. And kind of back when I was a retailer, I had to refresh my, just kind of take a step back and be like, this person is experiencing that for the first time, or that even, this stuff came out during the 90s boom or whatever. It was terrible to me. I don't want to bag on what they're enjoying.
Yeah, because they might like it.
Right.
Yeah. So as a retailer, is it safe to say, based on your experience, do you think Free Comic Book Day is still like totally worth it and good for your shop?
Oh, I believe so. Absolutely. Yeah. Because we're, it was a very profitable day.
Nice.
And I don't know what's going to happen next year. That's a story for probably a whole episode. But I'm hoping it's here next year.
I think it'll be here. It'll just be probably named something else because Diamond.
Yeah, it'll be
owns the
something
naming
different.
rights, right? So
Yeah. Because
But
I
I
mean,
think it'll be one of those things where people still refer to as Free Comic Book Day.
yeah, no matter what they name it, it's kind of like in wrestling. It's called WWE, but the people still call it, like myself, WWF. So,
Right.
it's just one of those things.
Yeah. It's going to be the Xerox machine of comic book events.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that was, you already gave your answer, but that was where I was going to go with this is, you think it might look a little bit different. Do you think, let's say that none of the publishing companies decide to offer free comic books. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just pretend. Worst case scenario, would you still try to do an event, or like how do you think you'd navigate that as a retailer?
I think it would depend on as a whole. Like if there's, we have 1, 2, 3. We have like within like a 5-mile radius, we have 4 shops. So if we see all 4 shops doing it, we're going to do it. And some, even if it's just like a sale in the store, or, we still have a backlog of Free Comic Book Day stuff from the past 5 years.
True.
We could still do our own Free Comic Book Day without having new titles.
That's kind of the beautiful thing of Free Comic Book Day is like, as you host those events as a retailer, you grow and grow your selection of books that your clientele can choose from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Like we have like I pulled out like 2 or 3 boxes, and it was stuff from like 2020 to 2022, and we made a special table. We put them out there, and we're like, grab as much as you want, because I had probably like a stack like this of Spider-Man Venom. I'm like, please take 3 if you want.
I think I've got like 5 copies of that people, like retailers, were sending out when you ordered comics at the time. Because the one the year before was such a big deal. I feel like that one has got mega ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay.
But I will say the funniest story about Free Comic Book Day was there was this kid that came in, and he went to the I think it was the Ultimate Universe book, and he pulled out the stack and he put him over on the table. I'm like, that's weird. And I asked him, I'm like, is everything all right? And he's like, oh, I want to send one of these to CGC. I'm looking for a 9.8. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's probably not a 9.8 in there. It's a free comic book. I found it just really, really funny.
Well, there are books that do gain traction and have some value.
Oh, they do. They do.
Yeah.
I'd say probably the Monsters, Mark Spears Monsters, that one will probably be graded a lot.
That one was gone when I got there.
That makes me wonder, though, because like, so the thing that people don't understand sometimes, if they're just customers of comic shops, is that the retailers are buying the comic books. Now they're getting compared to a lot of other books, they're getting usually a really good rate on them, but they're still buying them, still paying shipping, I believe, usually. Yeah. And so I imagine a lot of those retailers may have actually ordered extra copies of like the Monsters book, knowing that it was going to be big, probably to hold some aside or to grade some, or if it got big. And it makes me wonder, will it actually be valuable if a lot of people were speccing on it when it came out? I wonder about that, because I know that's Mark Spear stuff tends to be on fire right now, but
I can tell you right now, the Free Comic Book Day, they're going for about $3 on online, which, for a free book, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I remember going through my backlog back in the day and opening up the box and finding Umbrella Academy. I was like,
oh yeah. And even at one point, the Ani Press book, The Sixth Gun, was a pretty big one too. At one point, I mean, that died like quickly, but at one point, I think they were like $200. It was insane. It was when the spec market was just nuts.
Well, isn't the first I think the first Mr. Negative isn't a Free Comic Book Day book too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the first cameo or something, I think, or
right. Spider-Man,
yeah. There's a few. The one I have that always amazes me is not worth much money is it's the Star Wars one that has General Grievous's first appearance in it, and not worth anything. It's like That's so amazing to me because it's
Yeah, but someday that may change. Somebody may,
It could.
it may all of a sudden everybody go, "Oh, wait a minute," It's kind
Like
It's
honestly, I don't want to do a spoiler, but I won't say what it is. But the Energon universe, that is a huge first appearance.
Yeah, it's a big cameo. I'll go so far as to say it's a franchise cameo.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
And a funny story about that is my business partner Chris, when Transformers came out, Kirkman went around, to all the shops and we did like Zoom calls. And my buddy asked about that franchise, and he said, "Maybe." We got our answer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for that to kind of be past spoilers. Maybe next week we'll talk about that on the show.
I'm about to pick that up and read it while you guys are.
I think you might have flipped to the. It's in the back, right? Yeah, so you might want to flip to the back. There's a character there that you're gonna recognize if you.
I'm gonna go. Oh my! Because you know what?
Yeah.
Like, my coworker has a son who is into Transformers and Godzilla, and so my son was with me, and I said, "Hey, can you grab a Transformers and a Godzilla for me for my coworker?" And I gave them to him this morning. Now I'm gonna be like, "Oh man, I should have kept that."
Well, the funny thing is, every time that they do the Energon Universe book that they do for Free Comic Book Day, this week you could actually buy the same copy. Remember what they did last year, Chris, where they would do the Free Comic Book Day and then they would sell it like a regular book too.
Yeah,
and that's coming out actually this week.
That's so. It's almost like a second printing or something. It's
yeah. That's how I think about it.
This was a good topic. I saw Comic Tropes, Chris over there posting on his Twitter. He's talking about Planet Death, the Bad Idea book. Some stores were offering those up as free comic book day books. Did you have any of those? The Planet Death comic?
I think so. We were part of the gold tier, so I'm sure we had everything.
Okay. It was weird because
you saw our table. It was so many different titles.
That's true. I guess I could have just looked at that picture, but I didn't think about it till just now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty interesting. Henry, we're going to talk about John Byrne here. Actually, in just probably a couple minutes. We're just talking about Free Comic Book Day and kind of recapping it because, actually, mostly because Scott and I were talking about it. I was like, you know what, we should have you on and talk about this because, especially with the future being so uncertain about Free Comic Book Day, it's kind of interesting, at least to me. I think it's just other people too, hopefully. Hydra Asylum says they got theirs for free. That's cool.
Yeah, there's only one free comic book that was out. I didn't know about it. It wasn't offered through Diamond or whatever. If you hear of anybody, because I collect, as I showed you the Fangoria book earlier, Fangoria actually did a free comic or free whatever. It's not a comic, but a magazine day or whatever. And I have not seen it. I've been looking on eBay and whatever. I cannot find it. So if you find one, let me know.
Okay, I'll keep my eyes peeled.
At the place where I was at today picking, they had a weird thing. It was a free comic book day book, but it was from the UK, and they had the entire bundle of it. Shrink wrap there. It was Tesla #1, Amazing Adventures of Tesla or something. The Nikolai Tesla, the inventor. And I was like,
interesting.
But yeah,
I wonder if that was related
to my
to
phone. I'm like, okay, never heard of it.
Yeah, I wonder if it was related to like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen stuff that they did, maybe somehow, or I could see it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it was an indie book from the UK, but it somehow made it over to our neck of the woods.
Scott, the last question I had for you, and you might have already kind of answered it with the Mark Spears question, but I was curious, when it came to the Free Comic Book Day side of things, what was the most popular comic that people like either came looking for, or what was the one you could see that they kind of like grabbed first most of the time?
Well, it's mainly any of the top tier Marvel ones like the Ultimate Universe, DC All In, which we had a ton of. We didn't run out of them, but those are the ones they grabbed. Mark Spears Monsters, we should have ordered more and we didn't. I think that was the first one to sell out. Energon Universe was probably a close second or first. That might have been first as well.
That's cool. That's awesome. Baby, do you have any more questions for Scott before we let him go and talk about some John Byrne?
Where have you been all my life? We need to hang out and talk and be best friends now.
Well, I just subbed to your channel. Look for me on Facebook. Chris knows I'm a night owl, so I'm always up.
Yeah, hit me up. You will chat on Facebook or
Yeah,
on
I'm
Instagram.
either. Yeah,
I do
because
more
I'm
on
either.
Instagram, but
Yeah, I'm usually, either working or playing video games.
there you go. There you go.
Can confirm.
Yep.
That was awesome. You guys were both talking to me about Thunderbolts and saying like pretty much the exact same thing about the audience and like the mid-credit stuff and everything at the same time. And I was like, yeah, this is gonna work out just fine.
It was so funny. So if you guys go, stay till the very, very end.
Oh yeah, there was like 12 people that walked out, and I looked at him and I looked.
Out. There was
I was
one
like,
guy
noobs.
leaving at the end, and I'm yelling at him like, "Don't leave! Don't leave!"
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like,
It's
hey,
funny.
we watched the end, and he's like, "Thank you so much. I had no idea."
With no idea. Have you watched a Marvel movie before?
Well, he hit the mid credit, and he thought he was done. You know?
That's true. For a while, they only were doing like mid credits and then like
That is true.
a
That is
joke
true.
at the end or something. Like.
This is the longest post credit that they've ever done.
It was
Wow.
long.
Yeah,
That's cool. I can't wait to go see it. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to see it
Yeah.
this next week here. Wait, Scott, we super appreciate you coming on and talking about it. Like
No
I said,
problem.
I was
Anytime.
fascinated. So, folks, if you want to be so kind as to go follow Gamma Based Comics over on Facebook, it's a great comic selling, collecting, buying group to follow. Scott runs a really great show over there.
Scott,
Great.
send me a message over there, okay? So I can make sure to follow you over there.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
I'll make
do.
sure to get you connected. So thanks a lot for
great.
being here, Scott, and I hope you have a great night.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. See you later.
Later.
See ya.
All right. Well, that was fun. Every once in a
cool.
while, I like to touch in with the retailers, and I know you were a retailer, but obviously, you hung up your retailer boots a while ago, and you got to touch base with some of them.
People ask me if I'd ever do it again. I'm like, the game has changed so much. I don't know if I guess if I had a secondary mentor, I could talk to Scott.
There you go. Yeah, he's a good resource. He's a good resource for sure, and just really a nice guy. Like the one thing I'll say about Scott that I like the most is that he looks out for the community, and there's some stuff on Facebook like trying to catch like scammers and people that are out there trying to do malicious stuff, and he's heavily involved in that kind of stuff, and I appreciate that a lot because
That's good.
I don't like all that stuff gives the community kind of a black eye, unfortunately.
Right. For sure.
The music credits come up. Try not to read them. Okay. Pro tip from Comic Tropes: don't try to read the music credits.
Yeah, don't read the music credits.
Fair enough.
Think about that. Good point.
Well, everybody's in the chat is like, John Byrne win. What's going on, John Byrne? Folks, we are going to talk about some John Byrne. Strap on your John Byrne shoes.
I was doing some remedial work with the professor Comic Tropes just before, like watching his video. So after we get done watching this, if you really like John Byrne, make sure you go to the Tropes channel and watch his special on Byrne.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Absolutely. I think I mentioned last week, some extra credit or some pre-course work you could do would be checking out Comic Tropes videos about John Byrne. He goes into some great detail about the professional man, like, his not just his career as far as like his artwork and his writing, which I think that's mostly what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff, is kind of his artwork, what it means to us, the influences that we've noticed, that kind of stuff. We have a really cool presentation we're going to show off. You guys want to see a slideshow? Because we got an awesome slideshow for you, where we're going to show off some of John Byrne's work. And so to do that, let's see how correctly I get this done here. Yeah, so we've got a little bit of a slideshow about John Byrne to go through. Shout out to Big B for pulling the vast majority of the sources here that we're looking at.
I couldn't stop.
Yeah, well, the only thing I did too is I went through and I kind of grabbed some higher quality images so they wouldn't be a little blurry sometimes. But you picked out great sources. I added a couple pencils and final art, like splash pages and just
cool.
Panels and that kind of stuff.
I only had like one pencils, right? Like the Wolverine.
Wolverine cover, which I grabbed that as well, and I was like, oh, cool. Now I don't have to use that one. So I think the only thing I feel like I need to say before we kind of dive into talking about, again, mostly the art, is John Byrne is a little polarizing as far as his place in comic book history. And I think that's what I applaud Chris Comic Trips. I applaud his videos for that, because he does a good job of kind of explaining in that and talking about it. He definitely, I think him and Jim Shooter are two very interesting people in Marvel's history, especially because they've been there for some of the key moments. They were prolific creators. Jim Shooter starting at a super young age, very, very interesting stuff with him too, of course. But the other part of it is they've also had their detractors within those companies. They've made some enemies. They've pissed some people off. They don't really like each other, so it's kind of a funny example. As far as I'm aware,
definitely some egos there for sure.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if also as additional extra credit work, there's a Chris Claremont documentary on Amazon which talks about both Jim Shooter and John Byrne, and it is amazing.
I still need to watch that. I watched the beginning of it. I need to finish it.
Oh, it's so great, especially when it gets to the point where Byrne and Claremont split from X-Men, and they're both writing things to contradict one another.
It's so fascinating. And we've talked about on the show, I think 4 or 5 times now, we've talked about how John Byrne has actually kind of gone back and started doing kind of his own passion project, continuing the X-Men as if, essentially as if he never left.
I did find out the whole onus behind them, the whole reason why he was doing that. He's making bank off of the original artwork.
Yes. Well, I mean, and sure, right? Because I was looking at some John Byrne art, and it sells. I mean, like a page will sell for $100,000.
Right. And so he's like, hey, all of the original X-Men stuff is gone, but here's the stuff that continues the original X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. And we are going to get going
on the chat, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a few people I've missed in here in the chat. I've been trying to kind of highlight as we go through, but shout out to Collector P. Christina's in the chat, doing some awesome work here, posting all the links to all the things that we've been talking about. We really appreciate that.
My friend Christina.
There you go. Yeah, our friend Christina. We're going to be doing, I don't know how much you talked about this part of it with her, but we're going to be doing a little something helping.
It's coming my way. I gave her my address.
Yeah, you got something coming your way for me too to do.
Yep. We talked.
I guess what we'll say is for Comics Curing Cancer. We'll kind of tease that part of it.
Yeah.
So shout out to her for doing that. And then we got Comic Ozzy in here as well. So shout out to everybody here. So before we dive into looking at the art, that's kind of like his reputation. We're not going to dive too much into his controversies. At least I'm not planning on doing it. Big B, you're more than welcome to. But how do you feel about his actual body of work? Like, how do you feel about that, Big B?
Overall, I love it.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of John Byrne. He is a huge influence on my artwork. Probably one of the main foundational people that I looked at when trying to learn how to draw. When doing some of the study for this show, I learned a lot of things about John Byrne, and I was trying to question myself about some of the things. Like, I've never really seen a Batman that I really like by John Byrne. I mean, he's got a real clean Batman that he draws, but I think because his style is so clean and everything, it doesn't play into drawing Batman, if that makes sense.
That was more of a grittier character for you.
Yeah, gritty, shadowy,
Yeah.
The only time I can ever think of him really getting that way is when we had the Wolverine in the sewers taking on the Hellfire Club. Everything else is pretty just clean and neat. So
Henry makes a good point here. If John Byrne did not leave the X-Men, then he would never have done that great run on Fantastic Four, which is
right.
As I'm getting older, so I was so into X-Men. I was laser focused on X-Men, and his X-Men run with Chris Claremont is foundational to my love of X-Men. Like it's and I think to most X-Men fans, I think it's impossible. Their legacy is as great, arguably greater than Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's. Obviously, they created the characters, and they wouldn't exist without them. But really, things like the Phoenix Saga and just the Giant Size X-Men era and everything like that is not really going to happen without their collaboration and Days of the Future Past, and just there's so much. But it took me a while to I've been picking up some John Byrne stuff from Fantastic Four, because I realized that most of the John Byrne stuff I've read is some of my favorite stuff. Like I love his Alpha Flight run. I love, obviously the X-Men I mentioned already, and then so it makes me want to collect some of his DC stuff, which I had never read. Some of the Fantastic Four, like I read Fantastic Four. I probably started reading it at the wrong time, and so I never really developed a love for it, because I started reading it kind of in the mid 90s, which is probably not most people's favorite era of Fantastic Four. And I never went back and read the older stuff until I was much older.
Right. I would highly recommend that run on Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
His run on Hulk, which
She-Hulk.
directly they traded creative teams.
Yeah.
For Hulk and Alpha Flight. Mike Mignola came over to do Alpha Flight, and John Byrne went over to do Hulk. And they made the storyline cross where that happened. And it was just so good. I mean, yeah. So it's Alpha Flight, Hulk. I was just thinking of another one that he did that I really love. His DC stuff, his Man of Steel, the Legends miniseries for DC. Super great. She-Hulk, his She-Hulk run for Marvel is amazing.
Well, with that said, we've talked a little bit about X-Men, so we probably should go through some of these. A lot of what we have is covers, but there is some other art we're going to show. A lot of stuff in the beginning is covers. That's what I should say.
Right.
And it's mostly because
Captain America as well.
Oh yeah. Again, shout out to Big B who pulled a lot of these, and I filled it in here and there with a couple spots where I'm like, well, there's these and also this one.
I figured that we were gonna double up on a bunch of things, so I was like, well, I might as well pull a bunch of extra ones just in case.
Yeah.
So we had the first appearance of Kitty and the White Queen on that last one. It's a great issue.
Great issue. Although I will say it's kind of funny because the next issue is 130, and I didn't pull the cover for that, but it's the first cover appearance of White Queen. And I actually think it's an example of how John Byrne's faces, which are usually really expressive and good, it's actually one of his worst ones. And it's kind of too bad because
it's one of his lower ranking covers for me.
Yeah. Which I think kind of holds that book back, because otherwise I think, it'd be a little bit more sought after or whatever, because White Queen's so popular, and it's the second appearance of Kitty Pryde too, and the second White Queen inside.
Right.
This is iconic first solo Wolverine story in the Hellfire Club, and his artwork in there is just his artwork with Wolverine in there is kind of up there with the Wolverine limited series from Frank Miller to me, for some of the kind of foundational art I think of.
He defined a lot of who Wolverine is, because he was so passionate about it as being Canadian and wanting to define that as somebody that he could be like, hey, this is a cool Canadian superhero.
Yeah. And X-Men went on for a while too. That's a good
big run, actually. Quite a big run for Dark Horse. Yeah.
I cannot remember the exact issue, but did it go into the 40s?
I think it may even have. We'll have to do some research on that.
Yeah.
And Tropes, I'll try to get you the name of that Claremont documentary, or if somebody else can look it up, the Claremont documentary on Amazon.
There you go. Good point from Henry here, that he did 15 issues of Iron Fist and some Marvel team up issues as well.
Right, and those go over with X-Men as well, the Iron Fist issues. His first X-Men books are Marvel team. His first X-Men book is a little known Marvel team up, Spider-Man and Wood God.
Yeah, it's a really weird one. 44 issues. Okay, so I was in the right tens. What I wanted to say decades. That's not right. Anyway, I love this issue for. This is, to me, when I say foundational, I don't just mean the art, but I also mean the story, which we're not going to get into too much with this being a Claremont story. But
I think even
Wolverine.
For me, these books to me have even a deeper meaning, because it's like my childhood going out. The first time I saw a lot of these books, I think I've told you the story of the comic shop that was inside of a plant nursery. So you went through all these palm fronds and everything, and you came out, and here's this big wall of comics of all the wall
crazy
books. And they had all of the Byrne X-Men back there, and I was just like, and I remember seeing all of these books on the wall.
That's such a man. Like that just stuff doesn't happen anymore, It's too bad. This is one of my favorite covers.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
One of the infamous Pieta pose covers.
Which we'll see that a lot. He perfects a pose, and then he uses it over and over again. You'll see that a lot, or a composition structure for an aerial view of a combat scene, and you'll see that. And I almost wonder if he had like a template drawn up that he could use that same thing, or if he just light tabled the original artwork, or what he did. But
yeah, I would actually be curious to know that too, because he does. When I say reuse, I don't mean it in a bad way.
Homages his himself, kind of like McFarlane does, right?
But I mean, there are people that do criticize that. I've seen some criticisms that, for me, I can't think of an example where I felt negatively about it.
I'm like, this means he's trying to convey this emotion, right? This is his way of saying this is important. This is what's happening here. So
Brandon knows what's up.
Let's go Cyclops.
And then so Henry says that Chris Claremont wanted to get rid of Wolverine, but John Byrne fought to keep. And I wonder how much of that has to do with John Byrne's obsession with Canada.
Right. Well, Claremont wanted to kill Wolverine off.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of go. Here's another image that I wanted to make sure we got to. This is sort of a kind of a modern day Virgin, if you will, even though it didn't exist at the time, but kind of give you that without the trade dress, and a little bit different coloring there.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot too. Like I noticed that a lot of like bright pinks and purples, and my favorite covers by him.
Yes, and including this one, which, by the way, for those that don't know, despite the ugly bike banner thing that's at the top, not the bike, that's a different issue. This comic could be worth $2,500 to you. Despite that, this is actually my favorite cover of all time. So just the artwork alone, and even with the banner there, I know, but hey, it's still it for me, and I love homages to this. I love pretty much everything about it, because this is, kind of the climax of this particular arc here, and it's such a good arc, and the fight is awesome. There's so much good stuff about this comic book, but the X-Men to me was always Cyclops and Jean Grey. So this is like them, battle damage, last stand. It's her sacrificing herself. There's so much going on here. Which Claremont wanted to kill off Jean Grey. So many things that Claremont wants to kill off.
Well, actually, you watched that documentary. He didn't want to kill off Jean Grey, but made them kill off Jean Grey.
Okay, I may have been conflating that with another character then too, because there's several characters I feel like he wanted to get rid of. Or is that the one where he like worked it out with Louise Simonson, and they kind of like debated what they were going to do with the character?
Yeah, she was gonna come back and lose her powers, and she was kind of try to reconcile with everybody and work her way back into being a good person. And Shooter's like, she murdered an entire planet. No, she doesn't get to live.
Yeah. And it's so funny too, because to me, if you look back at it from a hindsight perspective, it's hilarious, because you have this character named Phoenix. She's the one character that it makes sense for her to constantly be dying and coming back to life.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
It's nice of the USA to make a cameo in the background. I live there.
That is 100% like the most US centric potential globe shot you can put up for sure.
Hey, CJ.
Hey, what's up, Comic Journey? Byrne was the most versatile guy from his era. Anything they gave him, he made it look good. Perez is a close second for Perez and Byrne. they're just absolute superstars of their time. That they were at the height of their careers.
I would compare those guys favorably. Perez and Byrne, as the artists, and then Claremont and who was Perez's cohort on Teen Titans?
I would never read it when I was a kid, so I was not a DC guy.
Ordway?
Was it Jerry Ordway?
It was Jerry Ordway.
I'm sure chat will let us know in about 4 seconds when the lag is done.
Be in there like, hey,
people are furiously typing on their phones.
Come on, Brian.
Yeah, that's true. That you know what? You're right. Canada's there. So's Greenland and Mexico and Brazil, and you got a few countries in there.
Wolfman.
Okay. There we go. I mix up all the major DC writers relentlessly because I wasn't into it when I was a kid, unfortunately, and I'm still. I can appreciate anyone I pick up. I don't sit down and read them sequentially. I should.
I wouldn't say that Wolfman is spoken in the same breath as Claremont, but I think that what they were doing at that time is comparable.
I'd say Wolfman is more prolific though. Like he did more like for DC and Marvel across multiple titles, not necessarily like I don't think he had a run that was probably equivalent to Claremont's X-Men run. I don't think you could point to
I mean, Claremont is like iconic for
yeah. Speaking of the pinks and the purples,
bright pinks and purples. Love that. That speaking of a cover that's been homaged a million times.
Yeah, I love when X-Men homages this cover. I love there's the Jubilee walking away. Yep, there's an X-Force one. Yep,
Sunspot walking away on X-Force.
There's X-Force 99 or is that 100?
That's 99.
Yeah, okay.
Burn, baby, burn. Or I did burning down the house on my
burning down the house. Yeah. Yeah, you got the Toys R Us banner. Yep.
Yep, there's that Toys R Us banner. But it's a beautiful cover. It is really well done.
Wait, you got to be messed. Is this comic trolls or is this comic tropes here? Come on.
It's the code.
Come on.
Wolfman
Predator vs. Spider-Man is the newest Marvel book I've read, so I get you. Yeah, and it's what? I really want to get into it. I really want to, but every time I wait for Green Lantern Rebirth and I'll sit down and read the whole thing and I'll like it. There's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of have to wait a couple years go by and then it's like everybody's like, you have to go read that. And I'm like, okay, I'll go read that. And I love it. But
Trope says he's actually not trolling, that they did have an issue with his name being Wolfman.
We gotta where's our Joe Rogan? We need our Jamie on here to fact check.
Fact check.
Jay, I don't just if you're free. That'd be funny. That'd be pretty funny.
Love that cover.
Yeah. This comic book, I had a low grade placeholder in my collection for so long, and it took me a while to find a decent copy of this. And it's not I wouldn't think this is a super sought after book, but for some reason I had a hard time finding it.
Picture Wolverine doing that canned stormtrooper scream.
the Wilhelm scream. Yeah. I've always thought this pose in the foreground was pretty interesting too. She's rather suggestive there.
I mean, that book made me go back and buy other books that had Wendigo in them, like Wendigo in the Hulk issue. With the second appearance of Rocket Raccoon is Wendigo. It's Sasquatch versus Wendigo versus Hulk.
I love all I call them big dumb strong guy fights. I love those fights, man. I'm a sucker.
One of my favorite episodes or issues of Alpha Flight. I didn't pick that cover because it's pretty plain, but the Snowbird as Sasquatch versus Sasquatch fight is amazing.
Yeah. So we haven't really mentioned a ton about the art as we've been going through here per se, but this is one of those covers. I do love how much action it's showing on the cover.
Right.
This is the kind of thing where, for better or worse, I'm going to argue worse, but I know a lot of people would say, hey, things have changed and it's become different. I think this is the kind of cover I want to see more of in comic books. Is it kind of tells you at a glance, hey, there's a big freaking fight happening in this comic book. You can see just all the characters involved pretty much at a glance. They do have some text on here.
There's a butt whooping getting handed out in this comic book.
Yep. Anytime
And
you see
it
Wolverine,
actually happens in the comic book.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is it's not like one of those weird teaser images that never happens. But you see Wolverine is getting smacked into a tree. You know, I mean, it's just perfect.
Right.
Love it, love it. So very good there. And then boy, howdy.
Talk about iconic.
Yeah, I know for a lot of people, this could end up on a top covers of all time list. This is one of those ones. Am I remembering this? I think maybe there was an ad that had this in it or something like that I saw, where they had like a slightly different version of this in Marvel for a while, where they kind of had like the poster and everything going on. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but you would just see this image over and over again in posters and shops, that kind of stuff.
I've seen it homaged a million times.
Oh, a billion times. Yeah, it's not quite as prolific as like well, everyone says ASM 300, even though that's an homage to a Hulk cover, 344, I think. But and which is also McFarlane. It's one of those fun.
Yeah, McFarlane homaging himself.
Yeah, or Spider-Man 1, or some of those ones, Action and Tech 27. But this is it's just great.
ASM 50. That one gets marked all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really popular one. But this is right up there. This, if I was to make a list of for sure top 20 covers of all time, this is on it. Probably top 10 covers of all time for me personally. Yeah. Just based on, again, it's visual storytelling. Just, oh my God, slain, apprehended, captured might have been a better word choice.
What do you mean he's dead? Yeah, I remember opening up and reading this book and seeing like the names, and I was still a fairly young collector, but I was starting to learn all the names of all of the civilian names of all of the characters. So I was like, Ben Grimm, that's the thing. He's dead. That's his grave right there. That and they're walking by, and I was like, oh my goodness, just yeah.
Marv Wolfman's name was briefly a point of contention between DC Comics and the Comics Code Authority. See, Tropes is such a next level troll. You have to fact check, and that's why we love Comic Tropes.
Right. we got Jay the fact checker.
Jay the fact checker. Yep. We've got Comic Journey the Contrarian. We got everybody here. He says he loves seeing getting remarks in those little white UPC boxes, which is pretty funny. I wonder if there probably is a Whitman reprint of this that has the white box, I imagine. This is from like Marvel Unlimited or whatever, but I think that's the joke there. Yeah, and yeah, that's before you even get to how heavy of a read it is. Good,
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. But so amazing.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal cover,
but like heavy and light at the same time, because it's like Kitty first getting to really kind of work with the team as a young character, right?
Yep,
I mean, really kind of getting to start to blend with the team just before adult Kitty comes or Catherine comes and takes over her body,
or Kate now. I don't know.
Yeah, Kate. Mm-hmm.
So I had to throw this one in because we had that one. I know this wasn't on your list,
absolutely.
Of course. And to me, this is, just as powerful in a different way, because this kind of image of Wolverine today, if you saw that happening, would be like, oh my gosh. Back then it was like, oh man, he could die from that, because like Wolverine wasn't an immortal killing machine like he is today.
Right. I think I told the story about seeing this in the back of a car when I was at summer camp. One of my friends, his uncle was a fledgling comic dealer, and I saw that. I was like, I got this much money left over from my camp money. And he's like, no, kid, that's not even close. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Shout out to Otaku Tour Guide here, which, by the way, shout out to Otaku. I can't remember if I said hello to you earlier. 141 could single-handedly be one of the best comic books of all time. Yeah, that's a really good point.
We're gonna have to meet up with Otaku at SummerCon.
Every single time that I've had a chance to meet up with Otaku, either one of us couldn't make it to the. It's been like a game.
Henry just corrected us. 142 is Terry Austin, not Byrne.
Oh, maybe that's why I grabbed it and maybe didn't. We had 141 on there, so I was like, I may as well include 142.
No, I totally forgot that.
Yeah,
Austin did a great job of aping Byrne on that. So I mean,
well, and that's the good point too. Another part of that team that we should probably mention, is Terry Austin too. So I wanted to kind of move forward from X-Men. We've been talking about that for a little while. This isn't really in chronological order because, frankly, there's a lot of images here, so I just didn't have time to do it. But it is kind of like in book order. So I grabbed some sensational She-Hulk stuff to show off because this was the run. I think I mentioned John Byrne could be kind of polarizing to people. I think this is part of where that comes in. He gets a little tongue in cheek in Alpha Flight, like with the whiteout issue, for example. Some people
this stuff gets just flat out like breaking the fourth wall slapstick sometimes.
But and it's the first time that it worked for me. It's the first time that I remember reading a comic book and being like, okay, it's funny that this is happening. It's actually, in tone for what's supposed to be going on in the book, and it stays consistently in tone. And just the covers have become iconic from this, and it worked. It sold books. That's what covers need to do. They need to sell books. Some of these are still highly sought after by collectors just because they're so fun. Like She-Hulk's going to rip up your X-Men comics. Some of the other ones we'll show here, and I might go back a little bit as we talk about these, but the Demi Moore parody, was it Vanity Fair or whatever? It was like in Vogue. I can't remember which magazine it was. But
I think the final issue of She-Hulk is she's saying, all right, fanboys, make with the X-Men or something.
Yeah. And it's just so great. It's just so great. Like the comedy, and I know it's not for everybody. There's some sex appeal stuff here that people kind of turn up their nose at. I get that. I know that some people think that holds comic books back to a degree. I'd argue that it's part of the DNA of comic books, and it has been since the Platinum Age. That you see sex appeal in comic books, and I think there's the opportunity where this is the kind of book that was going to be a little immature. It was going to be a little fun. It was going to have a little bit of action, sex appeal, comedy, and sort of be like your teen rom-com of comic books in some ways, like, and in some very kind of not another teen movie, kind of that kind of place in comic books.
Kind of Deadpool-esque before Deadpool was Deadpool, right? I mean,
exactly. And Harley Quinn now too. I think it definitely was a pathfinder for those types of comic books to be out there. This Jump Rope issue.
Speaking of,
cameo from Byrne himself there. In the arm. I believe, I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be him. But yeah, it's perfect timing, comic tropes,
right?
But I think, to me, this is and I can respect that opinion completely. I definitely can. To me, it's self-aware enough that it's literal satire. And it kind of plays into what's been going on in the previous covers and the previous issues of She-Hulk, where, like, I get where to some people that definitely comes across as being creepier over the top. She-Hulk is his favorite.
I think that, like, he doesn't get enough credit for like developing her character as a character. Mr. Akins from What's on the Comic Rack was just talking with me. He's like, I have an Avengers issue where it's the one where She-Hulk joins the Avengers, and she walks in and she's talking to everyone, and then they have her like light up a cigarette and start talking like she's like trying to be sophisticated, and they're like, nobody really knew how to write that character. And John Byrne really just kind of made her into a normal person character.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of goes to the point here. The previous point that Comic Tropes made is he thought this book started out very amusing, but only for about 5 or 6 issues. Then I got burned out. And it's interesting because to me, it's thinking about, when we talk about X-Men John Byrne, we're talking about John Byrne as somewhat of a creative force. So he definitely was involved on the creative team and helping shape and mold how that book played out. But primarily he was the illustrator. That was his role. he had more of a hands-on role in the storytelling than a lot of storytellers tend to today. But then when you get to these series like Sensational She-Hulk, Alpha Flight, Fantastic Four, where he's both writing and illustrating the book, and that gets really interesting to me because it does show a range of different stuff from Fantastic Four to Alpha Flight being kind of more in the middle to She-Hulk being on completely on the other side. You go from kind of, what you expect from Fantastic Four by and large to Alpha Flight, which is a little bit of comedy, but it's mostly kind of portrayed as a team, superhero book.
Yeah, it's got some pretty heavy stuff in it, like James Hudson's dying and all of that stuff.
For sure.
It's a drama. It's a superhero drama. You've got She-Hulk, which is a comedy. You've got Fantastic Four, which is a classic sci-fi superhero book. I mean, he had a broad talent for writing.
And I mean, you see elements of each in each other. It's not like you will open a John Byrne comic and be like, this is a completely different comic book. His visual styles are all kind of, a lot of his tropes, as comic tropes would point out, a lot of those stay pretty consistent to his different books. His creative use of panels and breaking panels and that kind of stuff stays consistent. But the other thing too that I wanted to talk about with Alpha Flight, to mention that real fast, is not only was he just bringing forward the serious topics, but he was also being pretty progressive. I mean, you have a character like North Star, for example, who he was clearly wanted to be written as openly gay, but he wasn't allowed to. And that's, at the time, that's kind of saying a lot. Like the way he's portrayed in that comic book, it's not played as a joke for the most part. It's played pretty seriously, and you can see all the kind of building blocks there for who North Star is going to become later on in the comic books when they finally reveal that. So I want to give it some props for that too. Some stuff you don't normally see from that era. And as much as you could like tear down She-Hulk for being
that era, especially.
Exactly. As much as you could tear down She-Hulk for being a little chauvinistic, possibly, you also have other sides of that coin where he's portraying other characters in a positive progressive way. So
I mean, there's the Fantastic Four issue where the porn guy he flew a helicopter over the building and took pictures of She-Hulk sunbathing. And so it's kind of an it's kind of a women's rights kind of thing going on there.
Yeah. And a celebrity paparazzi at the same time. Hey, there you go, Son of Crom. Shout out to Son of Crom back there, gifting some Big B McFly memberships, which, by the way, if you're not a member of Big B McFly's channel, you might want to consider doing that because there's some pretty awesome giveaways that happen there for his channel members. I've won once. I hope to win again. Definitely had some fun stuff happen over there, so that's pretty cool.
You have to be what's the fellow's name that Ben Compton?
He's won like what, 3 times?
Has won like 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
And then our friend Dr. Plagueis has won like 3 or 4 times.
Well, I mean, and here's the fun part. There's not a whole lot of channel members over there, so your odds are actually pretty good if you look at it that way. 7.
Yeah. And then when we spin the wheel, so I mean, we're giving away some big books. Braun's got a Thundercats #1 newsstand. So.
Yeah. My daughter was surprised I had that when she was getting the Thundercats. She's like, "What?" That was so cool. And I told her you gave it to me. It was even cooler. So here's one I did not read any of the Avengers around this time frame until much later on. But this is like origin of Scarlet Witch stuff, right?
Yeah. The Wundagore Mountain, Bova, the cow woman, whoa, wow. Thank you,
dude. Thank you.
I'm not sure how that works. How do I give out memberships like that? But
I think he assigns
them. Okay.
I'm actually not familiar.
All right.
But that's awesome.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Crom. And Crom, I hope you're feeling better. I don't know if you guys will watch Crom's video, but he was in the hospital just recently. Burst appendix. He sat through a live stream with a burst appendix and didn't realize he had it and went to sleep and then woke up and he was just feeling terrible and feeling worse and worse and worse. And then they had to go to the hospital and he had a burst appendix. So
God, that's no joke, man. I hope you're feeling better, Son of Crom. That's terrible. Okay, so it looks like they assign them randomly. Okay.
Okay.
You'd think as a pseudo professional YouTuber I'd know this, but I don't think I've ever had anybody gift memberships in my chat
That's
before.
really
So.
cool. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Chthon. Yeah, the whole Chthon Darkhold kind of stuff is
Right.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but you pulled this one, so I'm not familiar with it. Live but full of staples. Oof. It could be a rough recovery. My best friend had like 37. That was gallbladder. No, sorry, I'm thinking of it for surgery, but it's kind of in the same vicinity there, but it can be kind of a rough recovery.
Byrne just did a really great job with his art during this period. It was, a good little run on Avengers, and he had the first appearance of Ant-Man, Scott Lang, Ant-Man in this run. Taskmaster's Perez. So you get Byrne and you get Perez. So I mean,
a couple guys, we talked about them being
hand in hand. So I mean, Avengers people were spoiled there.
And then some of this is the order's a little random, but this is a great Legends cover.
Kind of the second time DC decided they wanted to reorganize their universe. Let's give us one more try. Let's let's do New 52.
I gotta say, like, I know a lot of people really like I was gonna say everyone, but a lot of people really like Byrne's Superman. I really like his Wonder Woman too, which again, kind of talking about an era where Perez pretty heavily associated with Wonder Woman too, but I really like those. And you know what? Now I'm like looking at the Batmans.
It's clean. There's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, there's a cover from the Man of Steel miniseries where Batman's kind of, I think he homaged it and there's a picture of Batman and Wolverine standing back to back. It's a nice, clean Batman. It's just, I'm like,
I have that later in the slideshow.
It's not really, I just haven't ever seen a Byrne Batman cover that really speaks to me. And he did a lot of Batman covers actually for DC. So,
but very, very good stuff. Get to some of the DC stuff here. Excuse me.
Love that cover.
First on the show. Yeah, it's a good one. Well, it's pretty grisly for a Byrne cover too.
We saw a little bit of this in the last episode or last series of Daredevil. I mean, this is where he throws Bullseye off the roof of the building for killing Elektra.
I'm surprised this cover didn't come up more when that episode came out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great. I mean, Bullseye is paralyzed for a long time, and then Bullseye gets an adamantium spine.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Bullseye has such an interesting arc. We talked about that a little bit when we were talking about our Daredevil episode.
That's such a great cover. I love his use of the and see, I was saying he doesn't do a lot of the light and dark for Batman, but that light and dark there with Daredevil is great.
This is like my top 3 Byrne covers of all time here. I think this comes in at maybe number 2. Freaking fantastic. It's funny how much love I see this cover getting
before Negative Space was a big thing, right?
Exactly. I think Miller might have been experimenting with it a little bit more before that, but mostly in issues more than on covers. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Let me see your chat.
We'll have to check that out.
Byrne has a good Batman cover for Mini Deaths of Batman with Batman in the Morgue. Okay.
Batmen in the Morgue. Multiple Batman.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Thanks, Erwin, for dropping in and leaving that comment. Yeah, it's a fantastic cover. I'm actually going to just advance because I have that same kind of cover. I have
you got kind of virgin version of that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think this is the scan of the OA. I think if you like start to look at the background, you can kind of see where the
good point. Kind of, Eisner did a lot with Negative Space.
Oh yeah, that's 100% true. Yep. As usual, I didn't think back far enough. But love.
Trying to think to the kind of the modern Marvel DC era. There wasn't a lot of people doing it, and now it's kind of really blown up. You see a lot of it.
Yeah, it's become, especially for like variant covers and stuff. It's become
the Wolverine banana yellow cover, and
John Tyler Christopher stuff, and Nakayama does not quite Negative Space, but like very monotone color.
Almost Negative Space, right?
Yeah. He flirts with it. He definitely flirts with it. I think but he still separates the character.
Like, hey, Negative Space, how you doing?
It's funny because he can make like 1 or 2 tweaks on his art and have it just basically be Negative Space. But
yeah, he could just take a couple lines out and boom, This is
Love
yeah,
this.
that's Byrne inking Byrne, by the way.
Yeah. It's burn on burn action right there.
Right, some Byrne on Byrne.
Love that cover. I'm so enamored by the greats when they draw Silver Surfer, because it's, I mean, and you'd think Iceman would be very similar because it's just that very reflective kind of character, but you know, something about the surfboard, and it's a rare cover of Silver Surfer I love where Surfer's not on the board.
Right.
That's crazy. Like, it's still cool.
Like he's getting ready to jump on the wave.
And we got the yellow. I'm surprised it's not pink or purple, as we kind of mentioned earlier. He tends to favor
Right,
that,
right. No, the yellow plays really well though. It's really nice.
yeah. It's very good cosmic stuff from Byrne. Yeah,
I guess maybe it's gold with the silver.
Yeah, that's true. Gold and silver. That's a good point. Very, very, very awesome.
Yeah.
So this is kind of getting into some of what we were talking about with showing pencils finished. So I'm gonna kind of go back and forth here for a second. So we have the pencils and then the final cover.
Because they kind of moved him around a little bit.
You know, that's one of the interesting things to me about this is that you can see that Byrne kind of had almost like this, you know, coming at you,
Hardening at you. Yeah. And they've got him almost like leaping at you.
Yeah. And then they kind of went for this. I never would have guessed that looking at the final. So sorry, folks.
This is back in the good old days when they were doing paste up. You can see that they pasted up the paper logo of Wolverine over the top.
100%. It's one of my favorite. The Jim Lee, I think it's issue 27, gets a lot of love for his classic cover there, and it should. It's a great cover. But this to me is kind of the other Wolverine cover from this run that should be iconic in my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of great Byrne work on Wolverine too.
Well, yeah, he's got the one with the Wolverine with like the Gatling gun or whatever too, or the machine gun or whatever, where he's like smoking a cigar. That's a good one.
Is that Byrne or is that Silvestri?
Oh God, it's probably Silvestri now that I said that.
I think it might be Silvestri.
You're probably right.
I could be wrong.
You're probably right. I've been batting, I believe, 0% tonight when it comes to making calls like that. Remember,
I named the wrong writer for Teen Titans. I'll fess up to that. So there you go.
But yeah, like Kotaku says here, it's just it's a very lovable Wolvie cover. It's Silvestri. Damn it. Now Comic Tropes is fact checking me.
Or is he trolling?
There are some other good Byrne covers in there as well. I just grabbed the wrong one.
Yeah, no, this is a beautiful cover, and I love the way the red plays with the brown in his costume too. It really works.
It's a bold choice. David says he did the best and only Wolverine for the time until Art Adams and Miller. Okay, yeah,
Art Adams is pretty darn amazing. He's also another one of my favorites.
Yes, yeah, he's another one that's probably gonna end up on this list at some point. I haven't dug a award and said he's right. Yeah. I mean, I might win the tug of war, but I'm gonna lose the factual battle. So we got moving into the FF stuff here, which we've kind of alluded to earlier, which I know you've been have you been collecting and rereading it recently? Is that kind of what you've been up to?
I'm working on building the run. I haven't been rereading it, but yeah, really good run.
I've been grabbing some of my favorites from it, and we'll probably I'm finishing up some comics I'm reading now. This is on my agenda to go back and read this stuff because I read bits and pieces of it over the years, but I actually need to sit down and read it. But I picked up his first issue on the run, and some of the other keys that I'm kind of like on the hunt for in that run. Like when I say keys, I mean also like just cool covers I like, which these are some of them.
Right.
And I want to reread it because I read most of my stuff on the app anyway.
It's kind of fun how we kind of rub off on each other as far as like
that is kind of fun.
Enjoy and the other person starts. So like the other night, somebody was suggesting that they had a whole run of Saga for trade, and I was like, Ron, this really speaks super high. I haven't read Saga yet.
It's good.
I was like, man, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think you're willing to read mature content stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Saga is the book that will just suddenly you'll be in a weird alien orgy in the middle of like you turn the page, you're like, oh, that's what we're doing.
I'm reading the book, and all of a sudden I'm in a weird alien orgy.
Yeah. No, it's that kind of book. Yeah.
I mean, Bronze. Yeah, no, I I don't read anything like that.
I know. Yeah, I was actually I was going to reference that, and I decided to just pop the question to you. But it's very much in the vein of like, sex criminals, really. But it's also got a lot of emotional heartstring tugging that happens too.
Yeah,
And
I mean, as long as I feel like as long as that stuff is important to the story,
Yeah.
then, yeah, it's all good.
The funny thing is, at its core, it's actually about a family. So
yeah, that's what I hear. So the book I always push to people is what I try to question people about what their likes are, and then recommend something that I feel would fit. There was a question in there from Jay.
Gotcha. Byrne did some great Fantastic Four stuff before issue 232. It was inked by Joe Sinnott, as great as well. Okay. Probably one of the few times you can say that Joe Sinnott great inking in the same sentence. I don't know. Other kind of controversial.
Rewatching Tropes video, there's I forget which inker it is, but there's an inker that.
Oh, I'm thinking of Vince Colletta. Vince Colletta is who I'm thinking of. My bad.
There's an inker that did Byrne dirty in X-Men.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah, who was that?
Tropes is gonna chime in, I'm sure.
He probably will.
Yeah. It was rough.
I don't know why I just conflated Joe Sinnott and Vince Colletta, but I did. Speaking of getting confused by things,
love that cover.
I love this cover. You kind of get some great stuff in here too inside, but this is a lot of what people talk about, and it's very true, is how much John Byrne revered kind of his predecessors. And I think he's, especially in Fantastic Four, a lot of that comes out.
He definitely pays a lot of homage to Kirby.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
And X-Men 121, but who's the inker on that one?
He's saying, what's X-Men 121?
I think that's the issue you're talking about where you got done dirty.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know who the inker was though, but yeah, he showed examples of the inking, and it was bad. No, I do push. I mean, I do enjoy a lot of Matt Wagner stuff. So Mage is great. Grendel is also awesome.
I push Mage quite a bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to say that Saga is that book for them to push for you.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, was it Austin? Okay.
It wasn't Terry Austin that did the sloppy inking. I don't remember. The one that he's saying 121 was Austin, maybe, but the one that Tropes shows, he's like, this one looks like the guy spilled some ink on Byrne's artwork.
Oh, okay.
Very chunky. It doesn't even look like Byrne. He's saying how much he was talking about how much Austin helped to define Byrne's artwork. So Byrne had some great inkers working with him, Austin and Dan Green, and he had a laundry list of amazing inkers.
Well, and so again, it's been a while for me, but didn't he ink some of his own stuff on Fantastic Four?
He did do a lot of inking of his own stuff, like that Silver Surfer cover was Byrne inking Byrne.
But it's crazy because I know he was working on multiple books, and so for a while he was writing, illustrating essentially everything except for the colors. It seems like, and the lettering. And then doing other books at the same time. That's nuts.
Yeah, and Trope said in one summer he was putting out like 5 and 6 books a month.
Jay, come on now, none of that.
You instigator! I'm a fire starter. Twisted fire starter.
Not Shalabal though, right? That's not Shala.
No, this is
Is that what's her face?
What is her name?
I want to say Nebula. I'm
Nova,
wrong.
right?
Nova.
Nova? Is it Nova?
That's not right either.
No. What is her name? That's her first appearance. Oh, it says Silver Surfer was inked by Tom Palmer. I am wrong. Okay. Well, I had read that it was inked by Byrne. So
welcome to the show where we get fact checked nonstop by and we love it. We love it.
Appreciate it.
We,
No, I would rather be Frankie Ray. Nova. I was right. Nova.
Okay. We would 100% rather be corrected than go on spouting half truths and incorrect things. So we appreciate the chat doing that. Thanks a lot, guys.
So,
and gals.
Chris, if you remember the inker that you were talking about in your video that did not look the greatest on Byrne, you were talking about how great Terry Austin was from Byrne versus this other guy.
And to be fair, that was an older video, so he may not remember.
Yeah, he may not remember either. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I thought this was interesting. Did you see the similarity when I sent you the photo?
I did see the similarity. I don't know that it's like a direct homage because there's a shot in the new Fantastic Four trailer that Big B was pointing out that's pretty similar to this. It's definitely pretty similar.
Yeah,
but
she's got the dirt, disheveled dirt on her face. Her costume's a little ripped up. She's trying to hold the force field. It was like, oh, that looks really similar.
we will be discussing interior pages. They're all kind of towards the end because Big B pulled a lot of covers, and then I just added them at the end basically. So I'm kind of moving through these here a little more quicker now. But I mean, we had to kind of showcase some of these Fantastic Four ones. Some of these are so good. This is a very, very much a callback cover too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can just see it.
Death of Galactus storyline. That's
a little more Frankie Ray.
Trial of Galactus. Love that cover.
This is some classic Byrne debris stuff everywhere too. There's another Telltale signature.
He does that kind of that trope a couple times. Yeah. We have the Iron Man busting through on the West Coast Avengers.
Yep.
Cover. There will be some Superman. Speaking of Superman, there it is.
I was gonna say we're definitely gonna get to Superman. We already showed the She-Hulk. No. So this we kind of mentioned this because this was such a huge shot in the arm for Superman at the time, and I'm really curious, Jay, if you do want to chime in about this at any point, please feel free. You already got the Sydney Sweeney video once. That's true. Good point. But I know this was a huge deal for Superman at the time and kind of helped relaunch.
It got me reading Superman. And I was a Marvel zombie, diehard. So,
and then, here's where chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this cover, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it the first variant cover. I think
it is the first variant cover.
Is it? Okay, well, I think it may depend a little bit on what people's definition of a variant cover is, but this was kind of the A cover, B cover.
One cover you could only get in shops, and one cover you could only get on the newsstand.
Right, kind of direct versus newsstand type thing. But I didn't pull the. I guess this is the direct, and the other one's the newsstand, right? The one where he's like standing in space or whatever is the newsstand.
Yeah, he's got the rocket taking off from Krypton, and he's ripping his shirt open. Yeah.
Crumb's right there with you. You never bought Superman.
Yeah, Superman Action Comics. I started reading some action. I started becoming a little more acquainted with a lot of the DCU. The Legends miniseries also got me because it's Byrne. So, and I was just like, "Oh, John Byrne, gotta follow."
This cover's also seen quite a number of homages too, but I think it is kind of fun trivia about it being like, I'm hesitant to call it the very first or whatever, but at least the prototypical variant cover, I think that's pretty safe to say. Like, it's definitely what made it.
CJ popular. Says the beginning of the nightmare, the variant nightmare we see today.
Yeah, but this was like the fun period of time where there was like two.
Right. No, there were a lot of people that were
37.
People were upset that you couldn't get both at one place.
Yeah, that part could have been handled better for sure, and to this day could still be handled better for sure. But still cool.
Otaku votes variant.
Okay, there we go. Well, I think he's saying this was only direct distribution variant. I thought those went together. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. So then we wanted to move on to the Superman ongoing.
Yep, I love that cover.
Yeah, another classic. Huge Terminator vibes there too.
Yeah.
Metallo,
the man with the kryptonite heart.
also getting kind of another example of great action on the cover there too. That actually does happen.
Yeah, something that actually happens in the book. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Among my gripes. So yeah, I mean, just kind of the impact and the revitalization of characters is definitely,
it got me reading Action Comics.
Yeah, well, but you think about like
issue, right? I mean,
his ability to get titles like Alpha Flight, Alpha Flight. To this day, not A-list characters for most people. She-Hulk, I mean, not a character that she had her followers, but I would never think of her until his run as being extremely popular. Kind of like you were saying, like some people had a hard time figuring her out, and I think she clicked for a lot of people after that.
Somebody was saying that they felt like he was defining her during his FF run, and then went into doing her solo series. But
yeah, nice.
Silver Banshee.
Yeah, the ghost of Superman. And then what did I have? Okay, yeah, this was the cover I wanted to get to. It is a great one. And then there's also I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Is that like recolored?
I think it's recolored. Yeah, looks like a little deep. Yeah, I think it's just the dark inks in the background are heavier too, so you don't fade it out.
I think I like this version better. There's an X-Men in here. I think it might even be coming up here pretty quick. I'm trying to get to the interiors. Oh, and then we do need to talk about Alpha Flight a little bit more, because this is where we come to in the slideshow.
His team.
Yeah. His team. And I have a soft spot in my heart for Alpha Flight. I don't know how much of it's because of John Byrne directly. I just thought it was fun because, again, I'm always a fan when a team follows. You have the big strong guy, which is Sasquatch in their case. You have the team leader with an energy projector. In this case, it's both people. You have a diverse skill set of it's a very well balanced team that can handle a lot of issues,
right,
a lot of threats. So it is just fascinating to me how he was able to take Alpha Flight and make it fun, make it interesting. I really like both James and Heather. I think he did a good job kind of fleshing out those characters. I really like North Star and Aurora. I really like, pretty much, the only person I don't like is it Marina or Marina? I can't remember what
Marina.
Marina.
I like Marina. She was just kind of like a doughy-eyed, like new to the world character. She didn't really know a lot. It was she was an innocent character, kind of like Pride.
Yeah, she was a little bit, but she was also kind of a fish out of water, if you know what I'm saying.
There's also a monster in hiding, right?
Yeah, she had like a dark side. Which must be what Namor saw in her, I guess. And then you have any comic book where you can have Puck, and be serious. Like Puck is a legitimately fun character.
I kind of was annoyed with how they treated those characters after Byrne left, making it so Puck was not always a dwarf. He was a normal person, but the reason he's a dwarf is he's holding a demon inside of him that makes him into a dwarf. It's like
there's some weird stuff, for sure. But I mean, and to be fair, there was some weird stuff in Byrne's Alpha Flight, kind of dealing with some of the Canadian legend and Canadian lore. But I think
I like that stuff. Yeah.
I did too. I'm just saying, like, you got Tundra in there who's like some seemingly homeless guy is like drawing him in the ground and he's like popping up. You got there's some weird stuff.
There's some weird Cataract and there's all kinds of crazy. Yeah.
But
Native American lore for Canada was
and it's cool. It's cool to me. Like I really dug it. I think I also like the whole Department H angle, all the stuff going on.
They do have an Iron Man guy.
Ox. Yeah. Yep. Ox.
And
I highly recommend after Byrne leaves at this volume of Alpha Flight, I think it's the next volume of Alpha Flight in the late 90s. It's actually quite good. It's kind of like a darker X-Files-y. Department H is evil, but it's pretty good. Like
I did like that. I did like how they kind of Mac Hudson, James Hudson, they made him kind of morally ambiguous with the whole origin of Wolverine. Like we don't know how much he was involved in the whole Weapon X program, and it's pretty good.
Freaking love this cover. I love this cover.
Another negative space cover, right? Basically.
Negative space cover. It pairs pretty nicely with the Spider-Man we showed earlier, but just those like weird bars and like Aurora's Terror and stuff. It's just such a badass one. Yeah, I think he might be a little too old now, and I hope he would be willing to play Puck, but he has and I think this is rightfully so. I think he has an issue playing characters that are written as dwarfs, and he's made exceptions to that rule, but I think he's no longer willing to do it. Like it has to be written as a non-dwarf character first. I could be wrong about that, but he was talking about in some interview. It was kind of confusing.
Buckets are really cool. Like I think it would be an inspiring superhero for somebody with
he's
that
a dope character
condition. So I mean,
yeah, I'm just trying to think of Peter Dinklage like whirling around like gymnastics, and like that would have to be
right.
That would be interesting.
A lot of CGI.
Yes. I mean, no matter who played Puck, that would probably have to happen because I mean he's like
I'm thinking like Yoda, when they had him hopping around and with the lightsaber.
It's very much like that, and I love to take it back to John Byrne. That I love some of the illustrations.
What is that great cover with him tumbling?
Yes,
across the cover.
I think that actually is. So we got the Marina cover there, right there.
There he is. Yeah, I love that cover. That's great.
Yeah,
and I love how the Puck's house is so hairy and everything. You have hair in the lettering for Puck.
Yes, it's fantastic. But there's all kinds. I forgot the term for when they show multiple figures of the same character. There's a name for that in illustration.
Generatrix or something. But he's hopping out of the corner box. It's so great.
Yeah, it's. I mean, he's just almost like bounding off the walls of the book almost. It's awesome, and I thought this was a really cool cover too. All the early Alpha Flight stuff is really spot on for covers.
Master.
yeah. That who becomes a villain in that series I was talking about. He's kind of the main villain. And then you jump ahead a little bit in the series. You got Namor and Marina, who end up
poor Puck's you can't tell it, but he's been disemboweled on that cover right there. He's like holding his guns.
He's not doing well.
Marina got him good, but I was going to say, it's interesting also that Byrne had a certain toy box of characters that he really liked to play with. Namor was one. He liked to bring Namor into a lot of things. I think he
usually for the better too.
Character. And then he did that run on Namor. Another great run.
Yeah. So this is where it gets interesting because we're like, whoa, why are we going back to X-Men? And this isn't even a John Byrne cover. That's true. That's true. Because
there it is.
I love this story. John Byrne went back and kind of told the James Hudson perspective of this X-Men 109 story, which is the first appearance of, at the time he was known as Guardian, right? That was Guardian, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He Guardian, Vindicator, he kind of bounces back and forth because he becomes Vindicator in Alpha Flight. But you have this story, which obviously kind of introduces the idea of some of Wolverine's backstory and Alpha Flight and Guardian himself, kind of before the team of Alpha Flight first appears in full. But then you have this story, which was really awesome from just kind of like a interstitial story, almost kind of telling that other perspective of what James's perspective was of the story, and kind of like, you know, his motives and stuff. And then he kind of did the cover recreation too there, which is pretty sweet.
I think in that Claremont documentary too, they talk a little bit about how at this point, Shooter was kind of, Byrne didn't have a lot of time under his belt, and so he was giving a lot of the cover duties to gosh, I can't think of his name, Cockrum. And that rubbed Byrne the wrong way. So I think this is Byrne's way of getting back and being able to draw that cover.
Interesting. Thinking of the DeLuca effect. Okay.
Okay.
I knew there was some term for that, but it's always been one of my favorite things. Like, I think probably the character I enjoy the most, usually Spider-Man, is where I see it used the most creatively. Maybe sometimes Daredevil too. A lot of like tumbling characters, you know, spinning through the air, or, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, you know, that's a really good one to compare. I think he definitely saw what was there and improved upon it.
Right.
But then, you know, like, he's really obviously just kind of, the punch is better. The punch is better for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Even
it looks like he's so nonchalantly blasting Colossus in the chest on this cover. So it's like, yeah, I know you're there, buddy. Just pow! I'm punching him. I'm blasting you in the chest. I got this under control. You know.
Well, hey, we've given Tropes his due, because it's, I think, for both of us, legitimately one of our favorite channels. But definitely go check out that video. That's gonna be. I'm adding it to my watch later list right after the show's over, Chris, because I love watching your videos, and that's no joke. So yeah, moving forward, because I do got to get to the end of the art here, and then we even have to show off some community art. I mentioned earlier I love his Wonder Woman, so this is fantastic that you chose this cover. I think you did a really good job with it, because I mean, he draws the strong female, you know, the She-Hulks, the Wonder Woman, draws those characters very well.
This pose, I didn't realize it, but I back-to-backed it in a video with the She-Hulk cover where she's got the shirt down around her shoulders,
like 40
and it's
or whatever.
Very close.
Oh, it's kind of one of those poses he does that, you know, it's kind of like his signatures. Okay. Like the Cockrum.
No, well, there you go.
Burns is better. Yeah, I think on the whole, Burns is probably better. There's more detail in the background too on the Cockrum, but I mean, that's kind of a minor thing. But yeah, there are some West Coast Avengers stories. I'm going to go pretty quick on these because I do want to get to the other stuff.
Another good run of Byrne though. Was his
and that crashing through the wall thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Just kind of like that thing cover. Yeah.
Yep.
Hot book.
Yeah. Is it though? Like, it kind of is, but yeah.
Made the a few times.
Yeah.
Homage. That's a great issue if you've never read that.
That's cool.
Amazing. I think it's all splash pages if I remember correctly.
Oh, nice.
Every page is a splash.
That's a gimmick I can get behind. I like that gimmick.
Yeah. There's I just picked up a Simonson book that's that way too.
Is that the one that's sideways?
Yeah.
On the cover?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's got the big dragon head on the cover and Thor.
Okay.
But every page is a splash page. I love that cover. That's a great cover.
A little more of that She-Hulk goodness.
The swimsuit issue thing going on there.
A little bit for sure. Which, I mean, hey, you know, Marvel's bringing it back. Thank John Byrne.
Yeah, we're bringing it back.
So here's what, you know.
There we go. Some interior.
Because of the format we're in, originally I was going to do this thing where I was going to kind of cut to showing you this full screen, but
look at the autographs on that.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Stan, cool. You got Chris, you got John.
Yep.
Shooter signed it down there.
I think this sold on Heritage the last time I looked. I'm gonna get the price wrong, but it was definitely, you know, hundreds of thousands. So at least 100,000, but I know it was more than that. So I'm gonna kind of go back and forth here a little bit. To me, it is interesting when you look at somebody who's masterful to kind of we're used to seeing this. We're used to seeing and frankly, this is the digital edition of the shot, so the colors are a little bit more saturated than they look in comics. If you're to go look at this originally,
don't show that storm shower scene in the digital version.
It's so mild. Everyone talks about that. It's so mild. But I mean, it's hot, but it's mild. But here you go. I mean,
those who don't know, there's a storm in the shower that was done by Byrne, and when they did it originally, the printing technology wasn't good enough to really show anything. But when they did the digital version, you saw there was a wardrobe malfunction.
Trying to think of a good pun there. You saw there was, let's just say, she can control the weather, and it might have been a little cold that day.
Yeah, there we go.
Storm shower. Oh, even better. You know what, Jay? I give you points on that one.
Storm shower.
Then the reprint shows the nipple. We get it, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those kind of, and I have about 3 of these examples to show where
His composition is really good.
Yes, and you kind of.
I think I threw a panel in there that I liked that, but maybe it's in there. I don't know.
Well, I'll kind of just show the examples, and we can kind of go back and talk about each of them. So,
wow,
here's kind of the difference there.
Wonder what that sold for. That's beautiful. Oh wow, that's great.
So
Wyatt Wingfoot. I think it's Wyatt Wingfoot.
I think so. He would definitely be the right time period there for him to show up. But yeah, we'll kind of go through these examples here a little bit more, and it's just seeing like the detail that he's willing to put in the backgrounds. Like I know he, Comic Tropes mentioned this in the video, and I don't know if I ever would have noticed this like consciously. He did a lot of that sci-fi metal plating background stuff too, which I didn't find a good example pre and post printing for that one that I could easily get high quality renders from. But even then, where a lot of artists might have put in very, very small amounts of detail, he still put in some extra detail in the background that gave it more flair and more character. I think
he got that from saying he really appreciated the work that Kirby put in, because apparently you look at a lot of Kirby's pencils and stuff before the inks, and there is a massive amount of detail that was just not filled in.
Well, and that's the Vince Colletta thing that I was talking about earlier. Is that was a lot of he just kind of like covered over details so he wouldn't have to go in and ink Kirby's detail.
To take out background characters, Kirby would have like 10 characters, and they would go down to 4.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just criminal. But hey, I mean, it got the comic books out on time, which I think is kind of the the trade-off. Obviously,
that's a great.
I thought this was a good showcase here because we've seen so many skylines and cities in shots, and especially in like Marvel books and DC books. But you also see today a lot of photographic backgrounds or a lot of tricks to kind of cheat using a lot of detail in the background. Here we got windows on the buildings, you got signs with writing on it, you've got awnings, you've got different styles of windows.
Hey, wasn't that guy in the Superman movie, the guy holding the boombox?
Yeah. It's just great stuff. These are some of the pages that I would love to see kind of colored with today's standards. Like you see the digital here, and it kind of has like this almost like kind of flat look to it, because if you looked at the actual
blended colors and stuff, because I mean the blending of that, the lights and the building in the background is just Byrne's black and white with just a very little bit of color on it. So I mean, you could see it could get really beautiful if they were able to use today's coloring techniques on that.
Nipped it in the bud. Oh, that's perfect. Going back to the storm thing here. And then, so what I really liked about this, is again, just there's a lot of detail in this panel here.
Oh, so much. Yeah.
And
Look at the carpeting.
Does it match the
photo
drapes?
of the carpeting.
Uh,
No, the carpeting on the floor. It almost looks like a photo of the carpeting. That's interesting.
yeah, I mean to add like the shag,
Mhm.
and on the carpet, folks, on the carpet on the ground.
Yeah.
But also so this is from the She-Hulk graphic novel, by the way. But just again, you know, as a reader, and when you may say reader, I'm talking about also as a visual reader.
Right.
This is going to keep me looking at the panels, going to keep me interested. You know, there's some emotion in her body language here that
Right.
really carries over. That's present here in the panel as it's drawn, just as present as, you know. There's
That's
almost
great.
like a
It's
color
kinda
gradient.
lost in thought. It's really yeah.
Yeah,
Picture tells 1,000 words, right? So
yeah. Now in the color, you know, in the colors here, it's kind of interesting. You do kind of get the highlights of the lighter greens, and there's some shadow that gets added, but really, it's all preserved there in the original panel there with the emotion. You
mhm.
know, definitely can just see that playing out, and it's just he's so good at that stuff.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean,
There's so many. There's
all
so
of
many.
his foibles that he may have,
Yeah,
his art is great.
there's so many illustrators today that I look at, and even today, even in the last 25 years, and their faces all look the same, and it's kind of hard to tell what emotions they're exhibiting, or you go full Greg Land and you end up with like porn faces, or you end up with, you know, way over exaggerated faces, or people trying to look, you know, afraid, and they look like they're in the middle of ecstasy or something. That's kind of the Greg Land effect, because he traces a lot of references, or well, I shouldn't say traces, but let's be honest, probably does. So you see a lot of that, and I just think it's fascinating. This is somebody who really took their time, and even the stuff he does today, for that newer X-Men stuff. You know, I haven't seen a ton of it, but the stuff I have seen, like, he looks like he's really putting a lot into it.
I mean, I think a lot of the artists of the day have uh, use a worn out phrase, but they've forgotten more than a lot of these guys will ever know.
Yeah,
They there's a lot more talent, I think, that was required of people back then.
here's
That-
that Wolverine,
This is that Batman. Yeah, where he's
Yeah.
got the arms crossed, and
I think I don't love Byrne's cape work. I think is kind of what it comes down to for me.
or maybe it's the cape work. That could be it.
But I mean, you know, I haven't seen a ton of it in the context of like trying to look at it after what you said. I'm going to go check out a bunch of it now. But you
I
know,
just happened to notice. I was like, oh, I'm not really digging. I'm not like I'm looking for. I'm like,
yeah,
I even like searched up Byrne Batman. I was kind of there's some okay, but yeah.
Kind of end with this, which is a nice you know, era of X-Men to kind of highlight for John Byrne. And this was a unused artwork that was going to be on a like the work of John Byrne or something like that book that ended up not being used, that he did. It's just kind of a group X-Men shop, but damn, that's a cool one. That's a cool lineup. You got both Summers brothers in there. You got Beast. I guess no ladies in this lineup. I guess that's the one thing.
It's like, yeah, where's Storm? Where's Rogue?
Yeah.
Where's,
that might be, maybe that's part of the reason why they didn't use it. But it is still just, you know, some great characters, and again, just showing, you know, it's not just a bunch of people standing there. You're not going to worry about that in John Byrne art. So
that's
very cool.
People who can make people just standing there look interesting. When like Arthur Adams would do those front
That's true.
pieces in classic X-Men, I was like, damn,
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. That there is something to be said for that as well. But yeah, just some great stuff. Some great stuff with John Byrne, and just somebody who I know is polarizing for people to a certain extent. But I think he has a legendary status when it comes to comic books.
Yeah, I would say it's one of those things again, we were talking about. Sometimes you want to be able to look past the person and just see the work, and appreciate the work, and not necessarily worry about the things that somebody has said that didn't really have anything to do with the work. I mean, well, kind of did, but
yeah, it's and I mean, and it's not one of those things where he's not one of those people that's like super controversial or super, like he doesn't have, as far as I know, he doesn't have a ton of skeletons in his closet or anything like that. But it's more of like one of those things where, like, in comic books, I feel like he's made some enemies of, like, Marvel editorial, that kind of stuff, and it's definitely led to some issues for him in his career. And I mean, you think about it, you don't, for a long time you didn't see a lot of Byrne stuff, and you still kind of don't really. I mean, and maybe at this point in his career he might be beyond his ability to do that because of age or whatever. Then again, he's out there making the X-Men book.
The X-Men book looks amazing. I mean, I was tempted a couple times. I've seen bootleg bound copies of those things printed off. You can get a hard copy.
Yeah. Well, we just got in talking about an amazing and fantastic artist, but we actually have a few more amazing and fantastic artists that we're going to talk about. So hang on for 1 second, and we're going to show off some amazing community art. My heart, I'll set it free. My creation here for all to see. So we have a lot of great community art, so I want to make sure we highlight some of this today. Some men want to see the world burn. That is a nice play on words, figure drawing.
There we go.
Oh, did you?
Okay, I'll get it in next week, Tropes. I didn't get it in time to put it in. I have to get it to bronze before the show, but I will get it for next week. Thank you.
Yeah, otherwise I yell at him and then I whip him viciously in the background after the show.
He mocks me as he's trying to download everything in 5 minutes before the show is going to start.
So the first few pieces we have are covers from so there's a few people involved. I know primarily it's Bleecker Street Comics, who's a member of the community. Right. You might know a little bit more than I do. Is he writing it, or what's the story?
I believe he's doing the writing.
Okay.
And they have a Kickstarter right now. It's not actually live, but they're getting people on the Kickstarter to be notified when it goes live. And so he wanted us to show off, or gave me permission to show off, some of the covers that they've had made for the books.
Yeah, and so
teeth are the city in that.
Yes, yeah, that's a detail. I'll zoom in here because if people might miss that. That's very cool. This is from Norin Rad, who we featured multiple times on the show from his artwork.
Yeah, that is so cool. That skull is awesome.
Shout out to Norin, a contributor for Heroes for Heroes, for the community art we did for that, and he just crushes it on his art. This is that is a nice touch. That's really cool.
It's so cool.
So yeah, Murder King is the book, and I believe they have an Instagram. If you search for Murder King, you should find it there as well. And you can search for each of these artists. I'm sure they're going to be promoting it. But Bleecker Street is the primary person you want to be following, I think, to get updates about that. And then got a couple more that are going to be sprinkled out because of the alphabetical order. They didn't all end up in the beginning. This is not related to Murder King, but we will get back to that in a second. This is actual Dracula, who you've seen on the show before.
Yeah. I asked him if he had anything new he wanted to show off. He's like, here's this. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Did you ever watch like the God, what was it called? The Christopher Walken alien movies from like the late 80s or whatever, where like the Greys abduct him or something. There was only one movie. That movie gave me nightmares when I was a kid, and it's that type of alien right there that
Fire in the Sky kind of thing.
No, well, yeah, it was before that. That was, I want to say Communion, which obviously isn't right, but something like that. Yourself. Oh, it is Communion.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That movie terrified me. I was probably like 7 when I watched it or something. There's like a scene where like he's trying to get away from it all, and he goes to like a cabin in the woods, and he gets abducted there, and it's just terrifying. Like they're running around inside the dark room he's in and stuff, trying to kidnap him. Yeah, it's gross. Anyways, props to actual Dracula, because if your art evokes emotions, that's usually a good sign that it's good art. And this is
Yeah, no, it's really well done. I almost makes me think Geiger
Yeah.
kind of thing,
very much so.
or Geiger,
so.
Geiger, how do you pronounce it?
I think you're right. So we get back to Murder King. This is actually somebody else who's also contributed to Heroes for Heroes. He sent in a signed, remarked cover that we auctioned off for Heroes for Heroes. This is Austin LeMay doing his Murder King cover here. Does another awesome bunny. He's done a few published covers, I believe, as well. Yeah, great artist in our community. You should go check out Austin LeMay. It's AUSTIN, standard spelling for Austin, but LeMay is LEMME. If you want to go find him on Instagram, I highly recommend giving him a follow.
I read the description of Bleeker's book. It's like a post-apocalyptic world where, it's just bleak, nothing to look forward to living in, and the hero is Murder King.
Checks out for sure. This is by as you said, a little known artist. What's that guy's name again?
Some big B guy.
Oh, Big B McFly, the comic guy. Is this finished now, or are you gonna go ahead and color it?
I'd say probably like 85% finished. I'm working on that for
Collecto.
Yeah. Stepo Collecto 6.
Yep.
So it's
nice.
coming along. I'm really liking the fumes coming off of the vat and everything.
Nothing like some good fumes, man.
Right.
Yeah. Shout out to Jay there. Love the Red Skull. That is really a nice touch.
Yeah, everything is coming along nicely on that.
And is that what did he request, like all the characters on it?
Yeah, he wanted the Red Skull and Batman and Captain America, and kind of a modernized Golden Age Schomburg-esque cover. So
nice. Very, very well done. I love this one a lot. He's gonna be lucky to have that. We have Eddie Rodriguez. I made a terrible typo. There says Edit Rodriguez at the top. It's Eddie Rodriguez.
That's so cool. Such a nice
very
picture.
nice. I get major Trish Forstner vibes from this. Did a really, and that's a huge compliment. I love her artwork. Good job on that, Crypto.
Yeah, really, really good job.
That's a good boy. Nice. And then we have Elliot Wright doing the new Ultimate Wolverine. Did a fantastic job on that.
Right. That's very, no pun intended, right?
Yeah.
It looks great. Good job, Elliot.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job on that. And then we have James Foster, which is also Nerdy Musings, right?
Yeah, Nerdy Musings podcast. If you guys ever want to be interviewed and talk about your love for comics, talk to James. He has a channel where he talks to comic fans.
Yeah, I'm trying to get something scheduled with him now. I don't know when it'll happen, but I am trying to get on his schedule. I know there's an episode, if you want to go watch Big B on the channel that was a few months ago, you can go check that out on Nerdy Musings.
Super fun to talk to.
And this
big,
is clean,
strong guy, martial arts instructor, artist.
Yeah. One, and like his musculature work on his art is really cool too.
Yeah.
This looks like, this could easily be a Youngblood cover.
For sure. That, and he was trying to really just evoke the feel of that time period. Yeah.
128 abs. It's great. Excuse my yawn as we're getting late over here on the West Coast even. And then here's our third cover. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Loke Win?
Yeah, I'm not
Lock
sure.
Win, maybe.
Lock Nguyen?
Well, I think and it's usually pronounced Win. But I don't know. LOC, I don't know how they're pronouncing that. But this is another Murder King cover, obviously.
I love that artwork. It's amazing.
Yeah, little dark hallway action. So that's our last Murder King cover. So if you are interested in supporting that, I don't have the link to the Kickstarter handy. If I'd had a little more time before the show, I would have pulled that up. But I'm sure if you search like Murder King Kickstarter, you'll probably have that come up, I imagine, right away. And kind of, you can probably save the page or whatever.
I can grab it real quick while you're showing art.
Okay,
I have it in my...
Perfect. I'd appreciate that. Move on to Philtastic comic art. He does also somebody who contributed for Heroes, I should add. This is an awesome Deadpool. Very, very cool Deadpool from him. And then we have a note that we want to let everybody know he is doing a giveaway of some original art for people who purchase Condre and show it off on their feed. Do you have any more details about that one by any chance, Biggie?
Condre, we talked about that on one of the episodes. It is the book that he put out, and he's doing a they were doing a Kickstarter, I believe. You would have to get all the info, but if you guys want to reach out to Philtastic, he's hoping to get some people to talk about it on their socials. So that would be a way to do that.
This is a dope Deadpool.
Isn't it so good?
Yeah. I really like that. And yeah, there is the link for the Kickstarter.
There's the
Murder King.
That's for the Murder City.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Philtastic Comics and Art. If you want to go give him a follow on Instagram, he's probably posting about it if he's going to be doing a giveaway. I imagine.
Yeah, he's also on YouTube as well. So
Yeah.
Follow him on both places.
Yes, exactly.
As well as Bleecker.
And then this, I mentioned our first message in chat was from Rich Stankey, who he loves to try to match up his art submissions to our theme. Did a fantastic job this week. We're talking about John Byrne homages, and we're talking about homages to this cover in particular. You got the Furious Fist of the Drunken Monkey.
Really cool.
Love it.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
Yeah, we're just getting ready to wrap up too here. We're showing off the community art, and then we are out of here. But I hope you're recovering well. Best of luck on your recovery, and I'm sorry you had to deal with that, man. That is not a fun thing to deal with. So hopefully you can recover and read some comic books and kick back and watch some YouTube.
I'm liking the names of everybody in the background.
Yeah.
Dr. Neanderthal.
Gene Gnome, Wet Dream, Mickey Finn. I wonder if that might be a reference to somebody we know.
The exhibitionist.
Dr. Neanderthal, yeah.
And the ones that's intoxicated. Chip is intoxicated.
Yeah. Intoxicated, it's great. But just awesome. Great work.
It's got a very Byrne feel to it too. Oh, hey.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And then we got some Roscoe, Geek Out with Roscoe, another friend of the community, also a supporter of Heroes for Heroes. Just like to shout that out because I really appreciate that. We do have Heroes for Heroes coming up. Stay tuned for more news from that. Should be coming up at the end of next month.
Shout out positive vibes to Roscoe. Dealing with some hand issues, really trying to get doing art again. So just send him some positive vibes, people.
Yeah, every piece that Roscoe does, from my understanding, because I don't know a lot of what he deals with, but watching him on stream and stuff, it's done with some serious love because he's fighting through some pain to do most of it. I think not all of it. So absolutely, treasure the pieces we get from him.
So good.
Yeah, did a great job. Love the eyes, especially for me.
Right.
Did a really good job there. And this is, boy, pretty perfect as well for the topic. I think
right.
Coincidentally. But we got Scott Hasselwood doing some Ever Loving Thing. Love
Another
it.
person who helped us out with Heroes for Heroes.
Yep, exactly. In fact, I've got a couple of his Swamp Thing sketches back there where he was kind of doing homages to different styles. This could be a T-shirt. Like Marvel hired this guy.
That's actually he's going to be making some stickers. I actually told him to talk to our buddy Dr. Plegas.
Okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't mention Marvel Legal getting involved, but still, I think they know.
But yeah, no, it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And if you guys run into Scott, he's up here in the Northwest doing a lot of shows, like the Small Press Expo kind of thing up here. And,
yeah,
all that stuff too. So cool guy.
Got Side Quest Comics coming in with some awesome Worthy Cap stuff going on here. Love the artwork there.
I love the inking technique on that. It's really cool.
It's almost like a mosaic-y filter kind of look to it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So SideQuest YouTube channel and also Instagram. Eric is his name.
Very neat. Very good job. And yeah, a lot of characters that John Byrne worked on. So very fitting for our comic community members. If you have comic community art, which means if you have art, because if you're hearing me say these words right now, you qualify. Even if you're a professional, we'll still show it off. We'd love to see it. We'd love to kind of spread the artwork that you're working on so we can show that to people, hopefully inspire them to start working on artwork. That's the idea here. I know it's inspired Bigby and I to keep drawing at different times. And I need to get back on the drawing horse again and start doing some more drawing myself. Seeing some of this art helps inspire me, so I definitely appreciate that. Send that in to us. You can contact either of us through our DMs, any social media platform you can find us. Links are in the description below. We'd be more than happy to show your artwork. And
thank you to everybody who shared. I mean,
yes.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're at that point in the show where we're pretty much going to talk about anything we might have coming up. Bigby, do you have anything coming up this week?
Nothing specifically planned. I might do a little short talking about the little shopping haul and how that all.
Yeah.
Not maybe a short video talking about how purchasing that little collection, do an update about what happened with everything and how it all sorted out. So
nice. I think people have been following along with that are definitely going to appreciate seeing the end kind of, or like the bookend basically.
And if you guys watch it, like if there's anything, like Bronze has claimed a few things, Travis has claimed a few things. So yeah.
I do like comic books.
I still got to find out if you want that booty cover. There's a great Vampirella booty cover in there.
Yeah, I got to go back and check it. I think I am still neglecting watching that second video. I need to go back and watch it. I've been busy, which is kind of goes to my update, which is I'm a little behind on some of the content that I've been trying to get out there for people. I will get it out there soon. If not tonight, then tomorrow I'm going to be recording some stuff and hopefully have it up really soon. It's just been life happens kind of over the last 2 weeks for me or so.
We all give you grace on that, buddy.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
There's more important things to do.
Sometimes there absolutely is. We also have you heard him earlier on the show. We also have our producer Jay in the background, who is one of the fine folks over at Hydra Asylum Comics. Jay, do you have anything coming up that you want to plug coming up for Hydra Asylum?
Yeah, I got an unboxing video that should be coming out this week. I was supposed to do it last week and just got busy doing other things. This past Saturday, we had a kind of a free comic book day special with myself, Mr. Nope, and Eddie Von B. Anybody who watches stuff over the experience sees them in the chat all the time. And we had a very special guest pop in near the end of it with Bigby. That was so awesome. And like I told Bigby before, and this extends to you too, Bronze, anytime you want to pop on, it's just a chill hangout. We do it every Saturday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. This Saturday, I actually have a plan that Ed suggested. We're going to read the free comic book day books and kind of give our thoughts on, like review them.
Nice.
And I also have a digital of a Kickstarter that I backed, came in today, called Frost by Scott Wilkie of Bad Bug Media, that I'm going to be talking about this Saturday as well. In the future, we got some Kickstarter folks lined up to talk to, and I'm going to bring people on that want to ask the creators questions. You can be in the chat and ask questions, or you can come on the show and ask the creators questions in person. So a lot of fun.
Nice.
It's just a really chill thing. So stop by.
Yeah. I think I caught you in a couple places this weekend. I caught you on that, and then the little claim sale with Kyle.
Yeah, John Cole from that's on our Comic Collectibles Monday show says that he sees me on some show every day. So
I think I just popped in there to say hi, and I won something.
Oh yeah. Actually, I got a message about that. I'll tell you after the show. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So go follow Hydra Asylum Comics. He threw the link in the chat here for everybody to go check them out. Hey Lyle, what's up? You came in right at the perfect time to let us finish, and you can kind of go back and watch the beginning of the show if you want to. Appreciate
good
you.
Show. Lots of awesome artwork and fun talk.
Talk about free comic book day in the beginning, and than a lot of John Byrne. Next week we'll have a new topic for everybody. Come back. We are going to hold it down at the Best Coast time slot. That is every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. It might be later for the folks on the East Coast, but we do appreciate you watching on the Rewind. If you are watching on the Rewind, feel free to drop us a comment. We'd love to hear from you down below, especially if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, or if you have any reactions to what we talked about tonight. We'd love to hear about it
in the chat anyway. Feel free to put it in the comments, and we'll read it, and then we'll feel like you're just chatting along with everybody else.
For sure, absolutely. Appreciate all the kind words from everybody. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you in the next one. Till then, have a great week.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.